Hello, everyone.
Good evening.
Hello. This is some fat guy, as you can see, even though you can't see him. You can hear him.
Yes.
I'm hoping also that Serious Mind comes in. For those of you who aren't expecting to see me on here, yeah, I wasn't expecting to be on either. So there's a lot of that shit going around. Um,
Blame Canada.
yeah, but
I take full responsibility for this fucked up scheduling.
I do, eh? And I know, you're really sorry. I know,
Sorry. Totally sorry.
really sorry. Um, So hopefully, Serious Mind comes in because I wanted to chat with him. It's been a while since we were on a show together. Um,
Shit, I got my MAGA hat on still. That might not go. It's too good with your audience.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't even think anybody's watching from my audience. I don't know.
Let's see what I got in goddamn podcast. Oh, two. Sean Brady and Stephen James.
Yeah. Hey, look at that. Wow. Okay. So I've kind of got a couple of screens now going here. So, um, hi everybody. You get to see, all of this beauty and this super feminine voice that I've got. Yes, Stephen James. This is going to be a good show. Yeah. It's going to be a good show. I don't know. My shows, for those of you who don't know, are a little bit different. It tends to be conversation, sometimes even debate, sometimes screaming at each other.
No,
Uh,
really?
the la- the well, not the last one. The show before the last one that I did, I ended up deleting because Serious Mind stormed out and he like rage quit, and then I blocked a bunch of people, and then I rage quit, and then the last show that I did, I deleted that one also. It's just it nobody really showed up. It was kind of I didn't really do a good job letting people know that I was going to be on, and it wasn't really scheduled. So, and I said, you know what? I said, fuck it, and I just kind of deleted it because I don't know. Conversation and debate is good. Yeah, like exactly like old school
Yeah.
YouTube. Yes, we can totally whatever. Um,
I'm going to put this on
what
Twitter just so people know.
are you doing?
Just put an announcement on Twitter that we're doing this tonight.
Oh, yeah. See, like I didn't really have time to do any of that kind of stuff. Like I said, I did ask Joe to come in, and hopefully he does. And I'm gonna send him a message. Um, it would be cool if Vegas pops in. Actually, let me get the link for the show, and I'm actually gonna send it directly to Vegas so she knows. Just so she knows. Paste. Come on, other bitch.
Yeah. It's on the Twitters.
There you go.
Made an announcement on the podcast channel. So
Yeah, Vegas.
I've been told.
Vegas calls me bitch, and I call her other bitch. So
Okay, I get it now.
she's other bitch. Um, what else? I don't know. I'm so unprepared. Like I had stuff I wanted to talk about. I'm kind of hoping Vegas comes into the chat at the very least, so I could rant about Buck Angel. You know what? It's TJ's show. To the show we just did. TJ's show. And I try to be respectful of that. I think I
Sure.
do a pretty good job. Um, but there are times when I'm like biting my tongue because I want to scream about something that happens in the chat. And
Oh, dude, you absolutely feel free with that. As a
I,
matter of
I
fact,
just,
because we got folk in the chat that deserve to be. Like, I get it when people
not
are
just that though, just conversational
saying,
things too, though. You know what I mean? It's like just when Vegas brought up the Buck Angel video, right?
right?
Just like I wanted to rant, and she was hoping that I was going to rant, but I really wanted to rant about it because it's been a long time topic on my channel. The whole thing with Buck Angel. And I couldn't do that. I wasn't going to hijack or derail, TJ's show. So, and it looks like Serious Mind will come in. So that's pretty cool.
Nice.
That's cool. Um, yeah, he's really good for me to bounce off of. Um, no offense, there, some fat guy.
Well, you have more of a history with them, so
Yeah.
until we get our thing going,
So
our chemistry, I guess.
yeah, chemistry.
I know what you're talking about.
Point of view be criticized. Oh, please.
It gives me a great opportunity to set up cameras and stuff. Though, I'm still working on this new layout, and so
Right.
everything's got to be set and reorganized, and aspect ratios changed. And
I like the new overlay.
it looks good, doesn't it?
Yeah,
I want
it's
to switch from the fire and all
right.
that. We've been doing
Right.
that for a long time.
Well, yeah, the fire's been a long time, and I don't know, just my opinion. That kind of stuff, it's kind of cheesy.
Well, it goes with the metal aspect of the show, and I get that, and that's its roots, sort of, especially with TJ and Drew. But
Yeah.
we're moving not necessarily away, but the show's growing in maturity.
We would have to. I'm on it
Exactly. Yeah. So by default, we need
because I am a goddamn delicate flower, motherfucker.
Yeah, that's what all delicate flowers say.
I'm all kinds of delicate and shit. So, yeah, I mean, no, I think it's good. It's good that yes, the show is growing and maturing, and I think the fact that I am on it is evidence of that. I agree with that. It's just like the fire letters and like that whole thing. It's it's dated and they've had it a while. And this is just a cleaner, sleeker look, and yeah, it's still metal.
That's the look everything's changing to. There, everything's becoming very sleek, cold, sterile kind of. Like I'm kind of more talking like house styles. Like I've repainted recently, and it's just going to like a lot of grays because that's what you see everywhere.
Is there a way we can add some cool, crazy animations on the show as well? Probably on, because this is actually airing right now on 2 different channels, Stephen James. In case you didn't know, the show right now is on 2 separate channels. On the goddamn podcast channel, it's possible, I believe, that Guy can put stuff up on the screen. On the Raven J channel, it won't show up. So, like, there you go. So, not
everyone is fantastic.
John Travolta.
I have to figure out some.
You can leave him. I love him. You can leave him. I don't know when Joe comes on. I have to rearrange the layout on my end.
And he'll probably be like where my camera should be.
That's going to affect you, how you do yours. So, we'll figure that. But right now, I think he's great. Look at him. He's lost. And he should be lost. Fuck him.
He's high.
Yeah, pretty high.
He does a lot of drugs.
So, whatever.
But yeah, I got to figure out some shortcuts and scene transitions and automation, basically. So I can have it like unmute microphones and switch to a different transition or scene on OBS here without having to do everything manually. It just takes time.
How do you find like Stephen James, right? He's saying like new ones, like new animations, not the ones you guys usually use for the goddamn podcast. Are there ways to have like where do you find these?
Like these GIFs, or like Vincent here, you mean? So what I do is I just Googled green screen GIFs, and then as long as it's got a green screen chroma key green, I can key it out.
Right.
But any one consistent color I can key out.
So I the intro, right? The Raven's Nest intro.
Right.
I made that. That's multiple. That's many layers. And all the different birds. Those are all different. Green screen crows.
Right.
So I can probably send I can probably send you one that's pretty decent.
If you're
And
any
my
good at that, I need the opening redone on the podcast desperately because it still has Dark Matter, who may or may not be coming back. I mean, at this point, it's been off the show since February,
right.
and it
I
doesn't
mean,
have your name, so
he and TJ have their own thing. They did
they have a
one,
new series. Yeah,
which is cool. So I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
I can do it. It's just gonna take me for fucking ever, and I'm only using like iMovie, and my license expired for like Adobe shit. So
Well, I've got Sony Vegas 13. That's what I use.
yeah,
And
I've never played with that. So that's a whole
and
learning curve.
and it's a million years old too at this point. 13 is old. Um, I sometimes everything comes out great, and sometimes it's
It's gonna
uh
take me a day just to learn it, and then I'll
some
never
days,
use it
yeah.
again.
Sometimes when I render a video, it comes out pixelated. So
Hmm.
I don't know why. I don't know.
I just I render everything in H.264. Works great, and then it's more native to YouTube, and they don't have to fuck with it so much because YouTube's H.264. So I need a good idea of what it's gonna look like, and I don't get the YouTube compression too heavily on things.
Okay, I don't know. See, is that yeah? I don't know. I
But I
putting stuff
don't. Yeah, I
together,
don't know a lot of stuff either.
editing, just putting it together, fine. When it comes to like compression rates and all that stuff, I don't know shit. So
I don't use it enough to learn it and retain the knowledge. So that's why I'll stick to like iMovie's very straightforward and easy. I'll fuck with it sometimes, make other shit. But learning like Sony Vegas or Photoshop and all that, it's like I'm not going to use it enough.
yeah, I'd never got into the Photoshop thing. I couldn't. I
Yeah.
am not smart. Like some people are born to be smart. I'm just born to be pretty. That's what I do.
I'm trying to think of the name of the app I have on this iPad. It works great for, like you're saying, drawing and layering stuff. And I have the pencil to be able to draw on the iPad.
Yeah.
But again, don't use it enough to retain the knowledge of what does what. So it's such a learning curve. OBS though, use it every show. It's very straightforward and easy to use. Do I know everything on apps? Absolutely not.
Well, see, and that's why I
one
like using the StreamYard. StreamYard to this kind of thing is so straightforward. It's just
Sure.
so easy. I don't have to know anything.
Well,
But
that's how OBS can be, but if
right,
you
this
dive
is just
deep
very
into it, there's a
limited though.
lot.
Like I can't do a lot of the crazy stuff that you do. I can't do that because
It's not even that crazy.
StreamYard doesn't give you that option. It just isn't something that's available. If you want to pay,
Mhm.
there's a certain amount of customization, but even then, I think it's pretty limited.
I'm looking forward to. It was supposed to be in September, but the program delay. It's like October, November now. The updates for Mac OS and iPad OS. Then with all that, I can stop using the built-in web camera, and I can use my iPhone. The main camera is on the iPhone, and set that up as my webcam. So it should improve my webcam. Like magnitudes better than the shitty built-in fucking. It's like a 720p webcam. That's not great. It's kind of cool. I don't have to buy devices or anything. It's just using the phone's fucking main cameras.
Yeah,
The webcam.
I get it. So we got we have one viewer on the Raven's Nest, and that might actually
3
might
over
be,
here, but I think it
and,
might be me
three.
and you.
It's me, you,
Me,
and
you,
Steve.
and Steven. Yeah.
Yeah.
Look out.
I scared everyone off. Oh well.
It'll get views on the back end, though.
Yeah, it's fine. It is what it is, Um, and I am just not all that interesting.
I'm getting there, hopefully. I got to do this more and more and more and more. Get my views and opinions out there and get people interested in what I have to say.
You asked me a question before the other show about talking about yeah. What the fuck is Dark Brandon? I do lost.
Really? So you've heard the Let's Go Brandon shit, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So now that Biden's actually doing shit here ahead of the midterms and stuff,
Right.
everyone, it started as a meme like over in China or Japan. Somebody like put fucking red eyes on him and it's like Dark Brandon. And so that's what everyone on the left is like, well, fuck it. You're going to say, let's go, Brandon, do this stupid shit. We're going to call him Dark Brandon. Dark Brandon
I
getting
don't know.
shit done.
A lot of it, so much of that shit is just shit. It's like you had said in that same discussion, since you're a fan of Biden, I'm like, I'm not. I'm,
Sure.
I don't like dislike, like the dude's old. And
it shows so badly in adults.
And I mean, he has a stuttering issue that he has always had. So, I had to take speech therapy classes for many, many years when I was young. And so I get all of that, I don't like hold that against him or whatever, but he is old. And hang on. Okay, now I gotta Hi, Joe.
Hey, Raven.
Let's see, how's this gonna work out?
Get rid of Vincent.
Is that good?
Yeah, it was.
There we go.
I had been laying in bed being lazy, and on the way in here, because I had to go through the kitchen to get here,
right?
And I was hungry, and I'm like, damn, I don't know what to eat, and I forgot I had leftovers from dinner. I made fried rice. I got like a Thai fried rice. And some left. So yeah, here's
nice.
Leftovers. Nice.
Nice. So I just like lying in bed being lazy is one of my favorite activities.
Yeah, you and me both. Well, especially at the end, at the end of a week, just to lay down. I wasn't. We watched TV for a bit, and she's gonna read her books and stuff, and I'm like, I'm just laying here. I'm a slug. It's awesome.
Slug mode. So, well, we were just talking about Biden and why I wouldn't say that I'm a fan of Biden, but I don't have a problem with Biden. Biden has done some good work. I would still prefer he not be the president, but he is. Yeah.
Reality.
So, I'm not going to run around bashing him either, though. I mean, he said he was going to get some things done, and he got them done. Did he do everything? No. Was there stuff that was left out? Yes.
Was there minimum Biden?
Were there compromises I would prefer not to, see be made? Sure. But that's the way our government is set up, though. There's always compromise.
Well, that's the thing. And this is one thing that, unfortunately, people who haven't paid a lot of attention to politics until recent years don't get. There's people who feel like, for one, whatever you think, whether you're left, right, center, whatever, there's people who agree with you, and there's a bunch of people who don't. And so no matter what, unless you convince everybody else that your way to go, you're probably not going to get that. Certainly not all of it. And also the idea that there's these, I consider them political nihilists, people who have this idea that, well, we can't compromise on this because it's either all or none. Either we get everything or we'd rather take nothing. And I'm like, well, why would you rather? That's not progress. There's the Overton window and all that. And just the idea that if I compromise today, that doesn't mean you compromise forever. That doesn't mean you have to stop looking for the rest of what you wanted. You got 15% of you wanted today. Well, great. Now you only need to go another 85% to get where you want to go, right?
Well, it's like the climate change bill. The Green Machine had said there's only 10% of what needs to be done. And it's like, okay, it might be 10% of what needs to be done, but it's like 1,000% more than has ever been done before.
Right.
Like you just can't brush off progress because it wasn't as far as you would like it to be.
Right.
It's progress nonetheless. And that doesn't mean we stop. We keep pushing for that. For the rest of it, we keep pushing for.
Right.
But that's the way that the system is set up to work.
Well, for me, a great example is you look at over the last since the really late 40s, the civil rights movement, specifically with black and brown people, right? So it's been a long struggle. We're still not at 100%, right? But if people back in the 40s and 50s and 60s said, "Well, fuck it, this doesn't give us everything," we'd still be back in the 40s and 50s and 60s, right? So push the penny, and even if you did just say magic happened and you got 100%, now you should still be wanting more, because we're never going to be perfect. You always want to get closer. This is something that Bo did a really good video about this over a year ago. That
Yeah, Bo is Bo of the Fifth Column, by the way. If you're not familiar with Bo of the Fifth Column,
then you need to
excellent channel.
Yeah. But yeah, it's very much like it just seems like a very childish thing. Like, we didn't get everything, so I'm gonna pout. I don't want any of it. Like, that's just literally what a child does, it's destructive, and clearly, like, if you look at where we are, some of that contributed to our current status.
Yeah. Yep. I don't know. It's just all.
The other thing too, as far as candidates go, there have been some candidates that I really liked a lot, and I really was excited about. But at the end of the day, I don't need excitement. I'm a pragmatist. I want to get shit done.
Yep.
I don't really care if someone moves me or not. What moves me? Results. So, and again, I will always want to make progress whenever possible. If I can't make progress, as much as the status quo sucks, the status quo, it's a big, boogeyman. Status quo is, as shitty as it is better than retrograde. I'd rather stay where I am than lose ground. If those are my two choices, is stay where you are or go backward. Because at least if I stay where I am, I still have the opportunity to try to push forward and get moving.
And you don't have to make any ground up.
Right. George Patton, General George Patton is attributed to have said, "Don't fight twice for the same dirt."
Yeah. So anyway, so when you had asked earlier, when you had asked earlier about whether or not I was a fan, and if I would talk about that at the beginning of the show before,
I thought it could be interesting. Spark a discussion.
That's what I figured you want to spark discussion, but I wasn't gonna be like, "Oh man, Joe Biden, he the shit," because
no,
but
I know that from what I've heard you on your show before and stuff.
Yeah.
I just want to throw that out there, spark a discussion about Biden, and then you say you didn't know anything about Dark Brandon, so it's kind of
I didn't know anything about Dark Brandon. That's kind of funny. I don't know. I'll have to look for is it just an image or is it a video?
Oh yeah, it's like memes going around everywhere, and everyone's calling him Dark Brandon now.
You've seen a couple of them, yeah. I haven't seen them. I did see the video with Joe Biden like dancing. It's his face on the.
Okay.
And he's just kind of like throwing out all of his accomplishments. It was Christopher Walken, I think, that was the original video. Was Christopher Walken dancing?
Well,
old video.
And getting back to the idea that obviously he hasn't done everything that he said he wanted to do. We're only not even 2 years in, and even if he does everything he wants to do, it won't be as much as certain people want. But
if he did everything he wanted to do, it still wouldn't be as much as we need. But
no,
well, right, exactly. But the thing is that it's still the most progressive result since FDR.
Right. Well, and Biden, whether as an individual, whether or not he's a very progressive person or not, is kind of irrelevant because he's really not. But his platform was the most progressive presidential platform ever. So it's like, even though he himself isn't that progressive, he did run on the most progressive platform that we've ever had.
But with the Senate being what it is now, that they don't have this fucking super majority, you're down to President Manchin and Sinema deciding what will go through.
And that's there you go. That's why a lot of the criticisms against Joe Biden are not fair.
Right. Exactly. He, got fucking hit in the kneecaps with a baseball. There's only so much he's going to get through.
Right. I was going to say one arm tied behind his back, but yeah, exactly.
like
Yeah.
with his executive orders and shit, like what he's doing with the student loans right now, he can get a lot done through
Right.
that
But you can only go
device.
so far.
Yeah.
Right. What's the other thing too? People are like, "Oh, it's only $10,000 to $20,000." I'm like, "Fuck you! That's a lot of goddamn money."
But
I
if
know. I
it's
need a-
for
For
the,
my house,
the
if someone wants to give me 10,000, I'll pay.
I know,
it.
right? It's just if
There's
it's
no
just a
only.
amount of money.
Only.
if it's
I mean-
strictly just like a midterm thing to get people out to the polls, and it sure seems that, given that it's been nearly 2 years and he's just now doing stuff, but
But it's
it
not the
does
first-
back up the
It's
This
not
isn't
for,
the
Brandon
first
shit that
round.
he's-
It's not the first round of student loan forgiveness, though.
right.
Oh,
He earlier in his term, he did it then too. This is like the second or third
It's
go
third
around.
time.
I'm pretty comfortable giving him credit for COVID as well, doing what he's done in that country to the response, because Trump sure as fuck didn't do shit. It was all fucking bells and whistles and putting lipstick on a fucking pig. But was there anything really set up in place? No.
No.
Well,
No,
I
he dismantled the pieces that would have helped.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Obama had set up basically a global system to deal with or to react to pandemics. It was basically a quick response, fast response system.
Sure.
And one of the first things that Trump did when he took office was to dismantle it completely.
Because towards the end of his term, when the vaccinations were starting to roll out, he was all about, the army's going to take care of it, and we're going to have inoculation centers everywhere. He wasn't getting, nothing was put in place.
Nothing.
According to Biden, and after Trump left, Biden had to assemble everything to get a national program rolled out.
Luckily for Biden, just the way that our society is set up, just the way that the U.S. is set up, just because of convenience, because capitalism makes people build things in certain places. Just the luck of our system, we have pharmacies everywhere that can distribute the vaccines, and that's what we did.
Yeah.
What happened. Right. So instead of having the military set up vaccination sites, which there were some, there weren't a whole lot though, but there were some, and instead of like a door-to-door kind of a thing, it was just like, hey, all the Rite Aids and CVS's and all that stuff, they can do it. They've got the equipment, they've got the people to do it. That's it.
See, up here, each province set up their own network, and so you'd log into or call a hotline to set up your appointment through a government program, and then you go to your private pharmacy
have those
clinic, or they'd set up pop-up shit or a trailer or something. But the government took over handling all the appointment and making sure everyone's getting the version
we have
they
that
need.
too, but it's not the only avenue.
Right.
So there's no excuse at this point to not have a vaccination for anyone in the US. Yes, Alpha, this is live. Hi.
Yeah, we are.
Alpha, where'd you go? Oh, K9, Alpha K91 said something to Stephen James. Was it Stephen? And it was just perfect. And I was like, oh, I love you, man. I love you.
I think Stephen might have been bitching about the silencing of right-wing scientists.
Something.
Why he doesn't believe in science.
I think that's what it was. So Stephen James, you can't see the chat unless you go to the goddamn podcast, because there's no chat happening on my channel. All the chat is happening on the goddamn podcast. So if you want to see the chat, Joe, that's where it's at.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was curious. I was like,
yeah, I know. You're like, what the hell are you guys talking about?
Yeah, who are these people and where are they located? What's happening?
I've got both my screens set up for the show, and so I'm looking back and forth.
There we go. The goddamn podcast.
I can give you a share screen of something if you need it.
That's all right.
There we go.
So, you made Joe. You made Stephen James hungry.
I did. Cool.
Yeah, I'm hungry too, actually. I'm going to make some chicken nuggets when I'm done here. And
I was thinking nuggies or poutine. I haven't decided yet. But I don't have red cheese. I only have cheddar.
In oh well, no. See, the thing, if you can't make poutine with cheddar, but you can make disco fries.
Disco fries.
What's that?
That is
This-
a New Jersey thing. It's very similar to poutine. The difference is that instead of the squeaky cheese like you guys use, the
Cheese
it's
curd.
basically melted. You make fries, you melt cheddar on top, and then you get some gravy.
Yep.
Oh, well, that's
You
what
can
I'm
even add
doing.
even add some bacon bits to that too.
Ooh, that sounds good.
Yeah. So that is disco fries. So it's funny though because I remember it happened to me a couple times. I mentioned disco fry, and you never heard of it before, but so some Canadians had and like they're like that's not poutine. I'm like never said it was.
Yeah, you have to do
It's-
cheese curd to
it's
do
fun.
poutine.
Yeah, I'm sure it's wonderful, but I mean I never had cheese curd. But I'm sure
It's
at some point.
okay. I don't know. I prefer like matzo on it, honestly.
Provolone.
Nuggies and
Exactly.
fries in honor of Revy 2 Bites. Revy 2 Bites. I love that name. That's it. From now on, he's Revy 2 Bites.
Raven, do you ever have disco fries with provolone? That works out pretty well too.
Provolone's your cheese.
No, I actually have not. I think I would like it though. So I like provolone. Yeah,
Or-
I normally just do it with cheddar.
Yeah, either that or I've had it with mozzarella or provolone mozzarella mixes actually melts really nicely.
Well, I was gonna say mozzarella is like really, really like springy and stringy though.
Well, that's why you gotta mix them together. So if you shred mozzarella, shred provolone, you can even throw cheddar in that too. It'll still go well. You get a three cheese
disco fries. That's right. We're on the same page.
we are. Well, Raven and I are both New Jersey people.
I gotta open up another deli. God damn it!
You do.
Ah,
And
Okay.
you can call them Disc Joe fries.
So 2 Bite Revy. Do you know Shani for Christ?
Yeah.
And okay, so
Well, at least I know who she is anyway.
she has, obviously her and her husband, boyfriend, whatever he is.
Yeah.
Boyfriends.
They got some major issues. They recently had their kids taken away because he's abusive, and she's just a horrible, horrible mother. And I don't like using someone's weight as the point to jab at.
Well, I don't.
Yeah. When there's like somebody like Shani, where her children are starving, and and she'll go on camera and ask for food, and somebody will send her food, and then say when they send it, this isn't for you, this is for your kids, and then she eats it on camera, and the kids don't have any of it. At that point, I kind of my reluctance to bash her kind of drops away.
Well, right, because you're not criticizing. You're criticizing her behavior vis-a-vis her children.
Her gluttony, and which is obviously it's tied to her weight, of course.
Right.
And it's just like, so her kids are losing weight, her husband or boyfriend or whatever the fuck he is losing weight, but she's getting bigger, and they're on food stamps, and it's just like, put the sandwich down and feed your fucking kids.
Yeah, and stop blowing it on yourself at
Oh my God.
fucking 7-Eleven instead of properly doing the thing.
Dude, somebody sent them a fat bastard. Right? You ever see a fat bastard? Okay, so
in
it's
mirror every day.
okay, so it's like a cheesesteak with French fries on it and mozzarella sticks and like chicken nuggets all on the same. It's a big fucking fat bastard or fat bitch. I don't know, fat bastard. Anyway, so they sent that to her and they said, this is for your kids. And then the fucking bitch ate it on camera. And she only gave her starving other half 2 bites. That's it.
Oh, okay. That's why the 2 bites. I got you.
And the 2 bite Revy. And it's just like, I just can't. It's a 3,000 calorie cheesesteak. I mean, I can't for the life of me. Like, there's a lot of horrible stuff that she and her other half they do and they say and blah 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 blah. But to watch somebody where you can see the dude is starving, and to watch somebody eat in front of him like that, all I could think is, I don't really care about anything else that she does. This is a horrible fucking person just for that alone.
Yeah,
like the greed that's involved in that.
Yeah.
And they film themselves doing horrible shit. It's just, yeah. And Shani and Rev are a huge part, unfortunately, of the goddamn podcast. TJ really likes talking about them and bashing them. And he'll end up going on rants about them. And it's just like, I feel you. I hear you. But yeah, they almost took over the show.
Well, the other thing too, again, because she's Shani for Christ. Again, another one of these. How many times have we run into, during the quote unquote great debate community when we were involved with that, people who put themselves up. Well, I'm a Christian, and so that means I'm moraler than you atheists and stuff. I'm like, no, you fucking aren't.
Yeah. Oh, she goes on about atheists and non-believers on YouTube and horrible people and blah 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 blah. And it's just like, seriously, your kids are taken away because you were starving them and your boyfriend beat them.
Yeah.
It's like, who are you pointing fingers at? And I mean, she's just getting high on camera and and eating food that wasn't intended for her, and like she made she went on a live stream, right, to ask for food. What was the name of that? It's a treat line treat thing. What is that, Sam?
I don't know.
The treat stream, right?
Treat stream sounds familiar.
Treat stream. And where they go on and ask for food, and people donate through an app, food, right? So she goes on to Treat Stream. Thank you, Alpha. And she goes on, and she doesn't even really say anything. She just goes, food.
Mm-hmm.
Food.
I can do
and
that.
Yeah, it's like, oh my God. It's like, what are you doing?
You have to give people something to fucking watch or
right?
reason to donate to you.
Okay, so there's a lot of poor people, and these days there's more than we've seen in a while.
Right.
There are a lot of people that are hungry. There are a lot of people that need help, and they go online and they ask for help, and many of them get it. Many of them don't, but many of them get it. And the people who are getting more are the ones who earn it. That they put on a show. They have real conversations. They go out there. They make their case for why they should be helped.
Right.
And I've never seen anyone who's successful doing it do it by saying, "Foods." That's worse than
It's me want to donate.
Panhandling at least has to take some effort.
Right. What's the thing? People look down on panhandlers. I'm like, they're fucking working.
They're working. Yeah. I mean, it's.
Yeah, but if you like clean my windshield, more likely to give you a few bucks or something, right? And
Right.
if you're standing with a sign.
Right. But even people stand with a sign, well, I mean, it's not nothing at all. It's not productive. But I mean, it's,
Well, the although I hear you saying some, but I mean, there was a time I was in New Orleans, and I was just somewhere just off of Bourbon Street. This young guy, he's probably 19, comes up to me, goes, "Hey, can I have $5 so I can buy some vodka?" And
that usually wins on me when people are really honest about it.
I was so struck by the honesty. He wasn't giving me some sob story, and he was like, "Oh, I'm an alcoholic. I need to buy some vodka." And I was like, "Okay." I gave him 10.
So what I told you the story.
What they're gonna do with it most of the time. Sorry to interrupt you.
Right. No, it's all right. So I told you the story about when I was in Patterson, when I lived in Patterson. For those of you who don't know, Patterson is a city in New Jersey that's really bad. It's where hope goes to die.
Worse than typical New Jersey.
Hope was kidnapped, brought there,
raped at knife point.
Yeah.
Left
and then vivisection was performed upon it, And then it was eaten.
But it was eaten by a rabid dog. Dog raccoon baby.
And man bear pig.
So that's the kind of city that Patterson is, and I lived there for a while. And I was on my way home from work, and I was at the light, and there's a guy right by the light, right in the median, with a sign, right, asking for money for food. So I said, you know what? I'm going to help this guy out. And I went around the block, and I stopped at a deli, and I bought him a sandwich, and I went back to the light, and I opened the window, and I handed it to him. And he's looked at me and said, the fuck am I going to do with this? So I took it back, and I went home and ate it. Because bitch don't want help, bitch don't get help.
Some don't want the hip, some don't get the hip.
So I mean, yeah.
Yeah,
You know.
that goes to my point that majority of the time they want alcohol, which you do you. That's fine. I'm not, you know, putting judgment on that.
If
But
he had a sign
be
that said he
honest.
wanted booze or drugs or whatever, or if he said to me when I went to hand him the sandwich, say, you know what, I'm really just wanted the money because this is what I want, I would have had a different attitude. But the whole, what the fuck am I going to do with this? It's like, well, you're an ungrateful son of a bitch.
Well, what is it like scalpers when you go to a show, right? Their signs are, I need tickets. Like, you're not asked, you don't need tickets. You're selling tickets.
Right. Right, because it's not illegal to ask people for tickets when you're at the show.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, scalping is, which really, I mean, come on. What the
I
fuck?
wish I could remember who the comedian was, but he was talking about, some homeless guy asked him for money, and he said, my first thought was, he's just going to use it for drugs and alcohol. And then he said, then I thought, well, shit, that's what I was going to do with it.
That's the Lazy Boy made a song out of that whole skit. Can't remember the comedian's name. But it's Underwear Go Inside the Pants is the name of the song. Yeah. Well, no, because part of the comedy skit, it was just like, people like, bagging on or ragging on homeless people, for not having money or not having a job. They get a job, bum. They get a job. This guy's wearing his underwear on the outside of his pants. Even McDonald's has an interview process and a dress code.
Yeah, the one good thing about broadcasting on Friday night is that you're probably punchy, so stuff like this sounds even funnier than it normally would.
So yeah, I mean, if you can find the Lazy Boy, those guys watching, if you want to find the song that's
I found it.
Lazy Boy, you found it? It's fantastic. It's fantastic. It's a comedy skit, and it's really funny.
I posted the link in the chat, although it doesn't show. It's not hyperlinkable because I'm not a mod. But
okay, well, put it in our private chat, and I'll put it in.
Oh, okay, cool, good idea. Done.
Copy link over here, paste, and
Bill Burr, someone in the chat.
and I don't think it's Bill Burr. It's from the early '90s. I don't know.
He's been around for a while. But yeah, I was actually downloading some of his comedy on Apple Music, listening to the car, and one of the album covers, he had like hair and shit. It's like, holy fuck, is this even Bill Burr? Did not look like him.
Well, one of my favorite Bill Burr sketches is or bits is he's talking about when he, before he married his wife and he was just dating her, and she lived in Harlem, and he's a scrawny white dude, and he's talking about when when he goes past a certain point and is like, Adam Clayton Boulevard, this, that, and the other thing is like, Adam Clayton, didn't he kill a bunch of white people during the slave revolts? And he's like, at each stop, there's fewer and fewer white people on the train. And he was feeling really uncomfortable. It's really funny. Mostly because it reminds me of an incident not really an incident, but an event that happened with a friend of mine. A friend of mine used to work at the Willowbrook Mall, which I'm sure Raven knows the Willowbrook Mall. Willowbrook Mall. What's that?
I used to work there.
Yeah, so it's kind of a ritzy mall, right? So every time we would go there, or I would go there, every store, the mall itself, and every store detectives on my ass, like within a fucking instant, because I'm like the only, at least at the time, the only brown person with, in a 5 mile radius, and it was very uncomfortable. So at some point, I was still in high school at the time. We decided during Easter break to go down to Norfolk. My friend was in college. I was senior year in high school. We're driving down to Norfolk. We stop in Baltimore because the people who owned Willowbrook Mall also owned Woodbridge Center, and they owned a bunch of malls, down the East Coast. So he kind of wanted to visit all of them for whatever reason. So we stop in Baltimore, and he was trying to find the mall that is owned by the same people. And I'm gonna bring up a joke that Chris Rock did. He said, like, every city of decent size has two malls. There's the mall, and there's the mall that white people used to go to. The mall we were looking for was the mall that white people used to go to. So we're driving around the parking lot, and literally he's the only white dude in sight. So I don't know what part of Baltimore we were in, but we were definitely in the darker section. And so now, I'm used to people staring at me, but they're staring at us, but they're not staring at me, they're staring at him. And so he's driving around, and he's like, "Yo, I'm the only white person here." And I'm like, "Yup." He goes, "Everyone's staring at me." I said, "Yup." He says, "I feel very uncomfortable." And I lean over to him, "Welcome to my world."
I've been there. I mean, I lived in Patterson.
You lived in Patterson. You were in the city. You were in the city that white people used to go to.
I love my hair. Don't even get me started about my hair. I mean, last summer, I had gotten extensions because I still had short hair, and I was miserable, and I hated them. They looked terrible. I looked like I was wearing a wig, and I could not wait for my hair to grow. And this is mine. This is all. I love it.
I didn't think your extension looked bad, but I think this definitely looks better, and your hair has a really nice sheen to it.
I think I love my hair. I mean, so Peach, being that she's half black, has black hair, and with it comes a lot of the issues that come with black hair. So when I wake up in the morning and I'm doing all this stuff, she's just like, "Fuck you."
I understand where she's coming from.
I'm like, "What? I love my hair." She's like, "Yeah. It's all right. It's I get it."
Well, we can get our hair like that if we burn the shit out of it with all sorts of stuff,
Well, she did for a long time. She had long, straight, beautiful hair, and now she has tight, curly, beautiful hair, and she gets really frustrated over it. And I think it looks great.
I've seen pictures of her recently, and I do think it looks great. But I get where she's coming from, though. It's just you could perm your hair right now if you wanted to, and without burning the shit out of it. It would just be,
Right.
You can just do a hot comb kind of thing and get a perm effect for the few days.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get it. I totally get it. But I mean, I think she looks great.
She always looks great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm always kind of flabbergasted because I know she doesn't think she's attractive, and I'm like,
I know, it's crazy. It's just like,
dear, have you been near a mirror any time in the last 12 years?
but I will tell you this: I understand it more now than I did a year and a half ago. There's this thing that our society does to women, and it even affects trans women. So I get it. I get it. There's so many things about the way I look that I'm not happy about that never bothered me before. There are things about getting dressed, just what to wear, and that I never cared about before. There's just so much, and
You think that's from societal pressure?
a lot of it is, and it's so easy to get lost in it, and in societal expectations and all of this fucking stuff. It's insidious. It really creeps into your fucking brain and convinces you that you're fat and stupid and ugly.
Hmm.
It's bad. It's really bad, and it
I
never really affected me. The only the only part of it, I'm sorry, Joe. The only part of it that really impacted me was I had years and years and years of looking in the mirror and thinking that isn't me. Like that person's not me. And now that I can look in the mirror and say that that person is me, is she ugly?
Oh,
Um, so I mean, there was always a little bit of it there, but now it's just.
Yes.
So I get it. I get it.
yeah, Stephen. People say fat is beautiful, but they don't actually live it.
Hmm.
People are so full of shit. You know, they're so full of shit. They're like, "Oh, that's beautiful. You want to go out? Well, no, but go fuck yourself. You fuck yourself. Go fuck yourself."
Okay, so the problem with people who say fat is beautiful and mean it, they are often really unhealthy themselves, and they want to be with somebody they can shove food into.
Mm.
Feeders are, my opinion, awful, disgusting people
Sure.
who don't
Well,
deserve to be in a relationship.
I'll try to explain to a friend of mine who, and they're not a feeder, but basically, they're like, however you are is just the way you are. I'm like, well, yes, but there does come a point, like you said, that and look, I don't care. Look, if somebody says, look, I don't care how long my life is, I'm just going to do what I want to do. That's cool. I'm not going to judge. I mean, I certainly have no room to judge, but I also understand that there are a lot of people like me, um, who it's a struggle. Yeah, I don't want to be like this. But anyone who says that it's not some a form of compulsive behavior has never like struggled, like sat there with a piece of food for a half an hour and trying to like, no, I shouldn't eat it, I can't eat it, and eat it anyway, because not because you're hungry, because you feel compelled to eat it.
Right.
uh so and I said to actually the same person one other time. I said, not everyone uses a knife to self-harm.
Sure.
Somebody just asked me when I'm going live again.
Are you Memorex? You do that Ella Fitzgerald with
I'm like, what?
the very thin. Well, I mean, I've
I
been
was.
fat my whole life, Alpha, but I certainly know that being very thin is a problem as well. Also, one thing that's kind of pissed me off about the fat acceptance, supposed body positivity movement, has been like they'll say like beauty comes in all shapes and sizes, and they only show average and bigger. I'm like, well, what about people on the other end of the spectrum, right? If it's body positivity, you got to be positive about all that shit.
Sure. Yeah.
So someone who's really thin, or the thing like real women have curves. Real women come in every fucking size, shape. You know, they're super thin, they're super fat, everything in between. But so I don't like when people, well-intentioned people who are trying to, in their own way, to be nice to fat people, end up dumping on skinny people, and that's not cool.
I was about 135 pounds and almost 6 foot tall
Oh,
um, most of my adult life.
lucky.
So, tiny, skinny, skinny, skinny.
I'd say so.
Now I am 202 pounds as of a couple hours ago. So,
Well, and that's the other thing too. A lot of people don't understand with women, like because it's so much of it's hormonal. I mean, your eating hasn't changed, but now all of a sudden you packed on a bunch of weight simply because you now have feminine hormones.
so hard without the testosterone. I mean, I don't. I mean, my body still makes testosterone, but I take a testosterone blocker, so it doesn't. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like I can still make it. I just have to stop taking the pill. But I take the pill to block it. And without testosterone, losing weight is fuck, that's so fucking hard.
Yeah.
Um,
I'm convinced. As I've gotten older, I want to get my testosterone levels checked. But in the last, well, you've known me for a long time.
mhm.
Since you've known me, I've put on like another 100, 20 pounds, my eating habits really haven't changed, and I'm wondering if part of it has to do with low T.
Might be. So go get that checked out. And also, at someone your size, right, to lose a bunch of weight is not that hard, because just to maintain your weight takes energy. So if
Right.
you cut a little bit off, it makes a drastic difference. So
Right.
even if you drop a little bit of your intake and you're still putting on weight, that's definitely low T.
Yeah.
That would almost definitely. So you should
Oh
get
yeah,
that.
I know
Well-
mine's like in the fucking shitter. It's like basically non-existent, and I'm
Yeah.
waiting to go to a specialist about this.
Yeah, and that could be, and then obviously you're referring yourself as some fat guy, so it could that could be a contributor to your size. My wife has very little appetite. She eats very little, and she has digestion problems. So she literally pukes up half of what she eats.
Mhm.
She pukes up as much as a bulimic, but yet she's like around 200 pounds.
My computer is telling me I'm offline.
No, I'm getting you fine.
You're fine on goddamn podcasts.
Yeah, we're going out to YouTube. It's just fine.
Yeah, I actually can't log into to YouTube because it just disconnected, and now I can't watch the show on. So I have no idea what's going on there.
Let me see. And you're on Raven J. I can see us on Raven J.
So weird.
That's
Oh,
bizarre.
there it is. It came back. That is so weird. Sorry about that.
Glitch.
That was weird. I don't know.
Yeah. So and there are other symptoms that I have that lead me to think that my testosterone is low. But here's another thing too. I'm convinced that there is a correlation in that if you do get very heavy, that can actually in some way, there's something about your body chemistry that changes that can actually further lower your testosterone. Because when I dropped, like just before COVID hit, I dropped like 55 pounds, and I found that the symptoms of low testosterone, many of them went away or were abated anyway.
Right.
So I'm thinking that it's like a so low T causes you to gain weight, and then the more you gain weight, the lower your T.
It's a cycle. It's a vicious cycle. So you got to break it.
Yeah, it's known as a positive feedback loop, although the result is negative. But
Yeah.
yeah.
No, you got to break it then. That sucks.
It does suck. It does suck hard. It sucks a big whale dick. Well, see, I started using stuff like that because I am cognizant of like something that you said to me a long time ago, that depending on how you say it and who you say it to, saying "suck my dick" or things like could be homophobic.
Right.
So I said, well, if I make it whale dick, then that totally, gets it out of the potential realm of being homophobic. Or sometimes they'll say elephant dick or camel dick, whatever, some large creature, some large non-human creature.
Barbie Liberation Organization. Is that a thing? That's not a thing. Is that a thing?
It sounds like it would be. I'm gonna look it up.
No, they're definitely making Barbie dolls
It-
different. They're losing the Barbie doll, but that's been around for a bit now.
there
The
is such a thing.
stereotypical Barbie look.
That's
Yeah.
wild.
Well, and it makes sense. I mean, actually, this is something that I think you've heard me say this before, Raven. But some fat guy. If you don't mind, what's your first name?
Phil.
Phil. You probably have not heard me say this, but I had an interaction with Dark Matter a couple, 2-3 years ago, probably about 3 years ago now that I think about it. He was having an argument with Foxy Jezebel about representation. And I know, Raven and I both know John. He's a great guy. We met him a couple times. But he said to her that, well, I never needed someone like me to represent me or to look up to. I'm like, because you had that. You already had, you weren't longing for it because you were drowning in it. It's like palm olive, you're soaking in it,
Right.
And then he was like, Well,
That
he hadn't thought of that, So
that point had been made to him several times, though. It took him a little while to really absorb it.
I don't know if it's maybe because I said it, but
Yeah, because it's sometimes that concept is rough for white people to grasp, because we don't see anybody on TV or making music or as representative of us. They are who they are.
Right.
It doesn't matter. And because it is so ubiquitous, because it is so um,
prevalent.
yeah, yeah, we don't see it as being representation, but it is.
Well, and the other thing I pointed out to him too, and it's because it's not just like I had heroes growing up too, and they certainly weren't all black people. But the thing is that when you're in your community, the people who are like you, they do try to get ahead and they get knocked down. So now not only do you not have the positive feedback, but you also have negative feedback that says, oh, this is probably not something for you. Do you remember? I'm sure you've seen My Cousin Vinny.
Yeah.
Because it's funny because it's the same thing. He makes the comment that that judge, he was in traffic court and he saw that judge and he's like, wow, this judge is from Brooklyn like me. And it made it seem possible.
Right.
It's the same idea. Like, well, he comes from my circumstance and I'm just some poor kid from Brooklyn. What chance do I have?
Right.
Hey, but you know what? That guy did it too. Maybe I could too.
So there's an issue of bad role models and a system that will happily exploit the bad role models.
Right.
And that has the effect of making it seem as though it's a bigger issue. It's a bigger occurrence than it really is.
Like you said, like when you said like hey, when you're white and you see people and you don't see them as, well, they're this or that. The other thing, they're just people.
Right.
But the thing is that of course when somebody is that negative thing, like so some white dude is an asshole. He's just some dude who's an asshole.
Asshole. Right.
But if you're a black dude and you're an asshole,
and every black guy on the cop show is on the wrong side of the handcuffs.
Right.
So
it builds, it perpetuates these societal attitudes.
Right. And again, and no one watching thinks about it as though like it's a representation thing or that it's a false representation thing. They just look at it as that's just the way it is. Right. Just like all the white people are all rock stars and movie stars.
Right.
It's
color is. Wanda Sykes made this point about Tiger Woods. So when Tiger Woods was up and coming, biracial, he was biracial, and then they kept saying like, well, he's even less, basically they kept discounting how black he was, the more successful he was. But she says, but the instant he fucks up, black golfer, does something bad,
Yep. Well, I saw that skit. Yeah.
And so that's why I've said to, when I would say to athletes who say, well, I'm not a role model, or whether athletes or anyone famous who's black who says, I didn't sign up to be a role model. Like, you didn't, but you are, whether you want to be or not. It's not fair because that's what society has done. But I've seen it for myself. I own a business. I'm an engineer. You know this. When I go into a plant and the operators, there's very often there's operators who are black and brown, and when they find out that not only am I an engineer, but I'm the owner of the company and I've got employees and everything, dude, like I could see it in their faces and I can hear it in their voices. That matters to them.
That matters.
And a lot of times I get treated with almost reverence. Right. Because I did the thing that they wish that they or their kids could do. Right. And so whether I want to be or not, I guess I kind of am one, and so I am aware of that. And again, it's not fair because I'm sure shit didn't want to be anything.
But I mean, it is what it is, and people who are in that position, that have that platform, that pedestal, or that position,
Yeah.
that position, that status in society, that they got through hard work. Well, then those people, whether they like it or not, whether they do it or not, what they should do, my opinion, is to stand on that platform and on that and I did it. I'm doing it.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Um,
Because it does matter.
it does matter. I've actually thought about. I have a friend of mine is he's working on his PhD and he teaches at NGIT part time, and he's had me to speak to his students. Um, and I've actually thought about contacting the local school system here, because it's very the town I live in, it's very mixed group of people, and then just kind of like going to schools and maybe even going to Newark and Elizabeth and talking to the children about engineering and science and stuff like that, and kind of encourage them to say, you guys, some of you can do it.
Right.
It's possible.
Yeah. That would be good. That would be good. I mean, well, I don't know. STEM, that's you're talking. That's STEM jobs,
Right.
and that's something that there's been a push lately to get. I mean, there's been a big push to get girls into STEM.
Yeah,
but
for
there's
sure.
a push to get more people in general into STEM fields, because that's what
So
makes
many
us.
jobs require STEM education at this point.
Yeah.
It's what makes society work.
Even
Not
being a
everybody
farmer.
can be a shrink.
That's right. Even being a farmer. I mean, I was watching the show recently, and the guy was just this family farm, and they're like, yeah, they sent the eldest son off to college to get a degree to get engineering because, well, all the equipment, there's
Mhm.
robotic stuff and there's and then to be able to how to treat the soil and all this, and so one child went off to become a agricultural engineer. Another one was some other type of engineer, and that's what they farm.
Yeah, you need a mechanical engineering degree to operate half that machinery properly or service it.
Well, certainly to keep it up for sure.
So I'm trying to remember exactly what the progression was, but there was it's a saying, or somebody had written it like way back in like the 1800s or 1700s, when people were talking about children not wanting to take the same courses in education or careers that their parents did, and the point was being made was, I do this so my child doesn't have to.
Right.
I will learn about war so my sons can learn about mathematics, so their sons can study literature, so their sons can do something else or whatever, so they don't have to do this. That's why I learned warfare.
Right.
And I think that people kind of lose track of that whole thing when they're just like, well, nobody wants to do this job anymore. And it's just like, well, maybe it's because their grandfathers did that job so they wouldn't have to.
Right. Well, that's the thing, with right now, like you think about like in coal country and actually, part of why Manchin is the way he is, right? He's in coal country. And so he wants those coal, there's a lot fewer coal workers than there used to be, but there's still a big voting block within his state. Yep. But yeah, no one looks and says, well, hey, yeah, coal jobs are going away and they're going to continue whether we go out of our way to try to keep them or not. So let's figure out how to transition this local economy away from coal jobs into better jobs and more sustainable jobs. But nobody does that. And that creates the problem. So then, of course, look, this is one thing I will say, as much as I disagree with a lot of leftists when it comes to about Hillary, but I do agree one huge mistake she made is when she went out there like, oh, we're going to kill coal, like, and all happy about it. But then, well, hey, there's just people that's their job. And
so it's funny that you bring up Hillary, because a lot of these issues actually go back to Bill. During his presidency, his 2 terms, one of the biggest issues that the country was facing was a transition from a manufacturing economy to a service economy. And it was something that he talked about frequently.
Right.
Like a lot of these jobs that they got to transition. But there weren't, at the time, there wasn't a whole lot of good things to transition into. I mean, these were people that were making, decent money, doing what they were doing for years that they couldn't do anymore. And they're getting jobs at Home fucking Depot.
Right.
You know, it was a really rough time for that kind of a thing, and there were never any really good, satisfactory replacements for those jobs.
Hmm.
Today, we actually can replace those jobs with good paying jobs.
Right.
We just have to have the courage to switch over to a green economy.
Sure. Yeah, get rid of the coal jobs and shit, right? We
Yeah,
educate
those
those
people can
workers.
still have those people can still have jobs in the energy sector. It's
Right.
just coal. You know, it'd be building
Servicing
windmills.
windmills
It
and
could be, you know, a high speed rail. It could be all kinds of shit. Solar arrays, all kinds of shit that we didn't really have in the 90s.
Right.
You know? But we got to have the courage to chase it.
Well, this is the reason why when people on our side of the political fence. I mean, I'm making some assumptions about you, some guy, but certainly I know with Raven, she and I are on the same side of the fence, and the people like, oh, automations are going to kill all the jobs. No, they won't. It's going to create new jobs.
oh, absolutely. Yeah. Like when anyone argues the self-checkout and shit to me, that it's destroying cashier jobs, but it's not. They're switching those jobs to different stuff now, or doing like where you order your groceries online. Someone's got to walk around and fill
Right.
that order. That
Right.
could have been just standing there as a mindless cashier.
Exactly. Well, my favorite example is always this. I take my phone. Nobody was selling these 50 years ago. Nobody was making these 50 years ago. Like, there was a small number of cell phones, but they were like, doctors and lawyers and, the ultra elites. And there were probably, a few hundred in the whole country.
Early 80s, the great big brick.
Yeah. But now, now they sell millions of these a year, millions. And even with automation, you still need people to operate the equipment, to build stuff. You gotta mine you gotta
from every step along the process,
whole process, and make the chips and blah blah blah. So there's I don't know how many hundreds or thousands of components go into this, but they all have to be made too, and they all need to be there need to be facilities that make them. So somebody has to design and build the facilities and maintain them and so forth and so on. You could go back and look at what the jobs were 100, 150, 200 years ago. Most of those jobs don't exist anymore. Most of them. How many boot blacks do we have? How many stable hands do we have?
That's true.
I can, and the same thing happened, right? When cars were coming in, stable hand jobs were going away, and people who did stablery and animal husbandry with horses were upset and pissed off because there's not any jobs anymore. And then you need auto mechanics and people who build cars and blah blah blah.
So the whole industrial revolution, the switch away from how things were for hundreds, if not thousands of years.
I'm gonna pivot because it's something that happened on the goddamn podcast earlier tonight that I was able to address that I would like to kind of jump at right now.
Okay.
All right.
So Vegas.
I thought I was in trouble for a bit.
Vegas had posted in the chat that Buck Angel had just dropped a video, and that the video had this ridiculous title about medical transitioning is dangerous, and that we should talk about that. And it drove me up. I didn't believe that it was real, and I looked it up, and yeah, Buck Angel put out a video apparently discussing the how dangerous and bad it is to transition medically. This is a trans man who has transitioned medically. I cannot tell you how disgusted I am by the number of trans people who are making money off of selling this idea that trans people are bad. I am sick of the Blair fucking Whites and the Buck Angels of the world. And Buck Angel is a fucking coward. Buck Angel is a coward. Months ago, he went on a stream talking about how we have to have conversations and we have to talk to people who disagree with us, and we have to have these so there's an understanding and there's an exchange of ideas and information, and how that will help solve a lot of the problems that the trans community is facing with acceptance. And I agree with that idea. So I happened to be in the chat during the live stream when he said that, and I said, hey, let's have that conversation. And he agreed live on the air to have that conversation with me and that he would appear on my channel. He mentioned me by name and said he would do it. And it was just like fucking awesome, right? So Peach, for those of you who don't know, because somebody thought when I had said Peach on the goddamn podcast, they thought I was talking about Peachy Keen. Although I am friends with Peachy Keen a long time, that's not who I was talking about. So my girlfriend of the last 12 years, the mother of my children, her name is Peach. She is a YouTuber, pretty big one. Used to make a lot of really good popular videos, and she's beautiful and she's amazing, and she is mine.
All of that.
All of that. She is that and the bag of chips. And anyway, so she contacted him through Twitter because he follows her on Twitter. He apparently has had a thing for Peach for years. And so she contacted him and said, "Are you going to talk to Raven?" Blah, blah, blah. And he's like, "Yep, we're going to do this." I set it all up. I sent him, information about StreamYard and how we would do this. He's like, "Okay, blah, 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 blah." I'm like, "Hey, how does this day work for you?" He says, "No, that doesn't work." I said, "Okay, well, how about this date?" "No, that doesn't work." I said, "Well, what about this day?" He said, "No, that doesn't work." I said, "Okay, do you have a date?" He said, "Yeah, here's a date." Fine. I put up a video advertising it. We're going to do this. Me and Buck Angel, we're going to sit down. We're going to talk about this. He sends me a message, says he can't do it. He has to pull out. Okay, not a big deal. How about this date? Nope, can't do it. Well, how about this date? Nope, can't do it. Said, "Do you have another date?" "Yes, I do. I have another date I can do." I said, Fine. Put up another video. Said, "Sorry, the other one's not going to happen, but we are going to do it, and it'll be on this day." Sends me a message. Nope, can't do it. Next day, Blair White puts up a video where she sits down with Buck Angel, and they spend an hour talking about how terrible trans people are. So fuck Buck Angel, fuck Blair White.
Do I have to?
No, I don't think anybody should.
People, that's the thing. Well, it's just like what's her name? She used to be really liberal, and then she's black, and she's now a mouthpiece for like all sorts of right wing bullshit. You know what I'm talking about? Not Stacey Dash, the more recent one.
Wait, what?
That she's yeah, that's the one. Oops. I can't think of her name. She's a right winger, but she used to be liberal, and she's black, and she's a mouthpiece for a lot of right wing hate bullshit.
Candace Owens?
Candace Owens, thank you.
Oh, it was her you're talking.
Yeah.
I was kidding. Okay.
The same thing. I mean, it's the same stuff. And for that matter, I mentioned Stacey Dash. She was the same way until she found out that, they didn't like her. She was useful to them. And then as soon as she wasn't useful anymore, they kicked Stacey to the curb. Then she wanted to come back and be black again. And we were like, sorry, Stacey, you're very nice to look at, but you said some unforgivable things, and we're not going to forgive you.
Wow. Need, you like Blair? What is there to like? She's not even a real conservative. She's a political vacuum.
Yeah.
It sounds like a lot like Dave Rubin, token gay, and once he's married and they want to adopt children, then they turn on him. Because it's obviously against what the whole GOP platform stands for, or they believe most of followers. Only useful when it's useful for them to have Dave Rubin around.
So it's like, go ahead.
I was going to say addressing knee boops. Knee boops. Peach is half Jewish, so there you go. Yeah. And I'm 1/8.
She's half Jewish and half black.
And 100% gorgeous.
Oh God, Milo Yiannopoulos. Oh God, there's another one. And he got kicked to the curb.
Yeah.
He got kicked to the curb. I mean, not that he didn't deserve, but
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, he was the token gay guy, and made himself as fucking ridiculous as possible,
Oh yeah,
shit all over his own
such a
people
token.
for money, and then he got kicked to the curb. And I mean, like I said, he absolutely is Peach's mother a Jew. Well, Peach's mother is a Jew, but she's an atheist also. So, right,
Does he?
exactly, Alpha. He did deserve it.
Yeah.
So I mean, I don't know. It's just Blair is clearly making money on this. She's clearly getting paid to basically be, an Aunt Tom. Is that what she would be? Um, Clearly. And eventually, these right wingers that she keeps having on her show and interviewing, they're going to throw her under the bus.
Oh, yeah. Well, like I said, that same thing was happening to Stacey Dash, right? Stacey Dash went out and stumped for all the right wing bullshit. And like you remember when on the reason why I stopped making videos on the Breakfast Club, because we had kind of a mixed audience. And whenever, I have no problem taking the left to task when I disagree. I'm on the left. I'm part of the left, but I don't agree with everything we do or say. We're not, we don't have a magic key to truth. And but every time I would say something, all the right wing, Nazi bully boys would like, oh, see, and they try to use me to support their bullshit. Like, no, I'm not on your team. Fuck off, So I finally said, look, I can't keep making videos like this on this channel because it's going to be used as a weapon against me, basically, ironically. So I had to stop. I had to stop participating.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I know. It's just at least Blair would be thrown under the front of the bus because she's white. LOL. Oy.
Actually, she said, "I'll be here as a week." Do you remember that the Beck's beer commercial?
No.
Oh, it was great. It was so they had this series of commercials where it's like, so and so people don't do Germans don't do whatever it is, they do beer, and Beck's it's German for beer. So
Right.
the one that they had this very awkward German guy telling very staid kind of old timey kind of jokes, and they were really terrible. And at the end, they're like, Germans don't do comedy, they do beer. And then at the end of the course, the guy goes, I'll be here all the week.
So Blair goes on and on and on bashing trans people for like surgeries that she hasn't had. And it's just like, and she judges, though this, person thinks they're a woman looking the way they do, they're ugly and blah, 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 blah. And it's just like, really?
Whether they have, and she hasn't had those surgeries either.
Well, she hasn't had bottom surgery,
Mm.
but she has had her whole entire face reconstructed, and she had breast implants.
So unless you look feminine, you don't count.
Right.
Okay.
You gotta be pretty. You gotta look like a Barbie doll.
That's sexist.
You know what? Here's the thing that I think is hilarious. Look, see this? I don't have an Adam's apple. I didn't need surgery for that. That bitch did. I don't have an Adam's apple. I used to. I don't know what the fuck happened to it. It disappeared. But I mean, she had an Adam's apple. She had to have surgery to get rid of it. I don't have that.
I've never had one, but I don't know if it's just because I've been fat my whole life.
I don't have one either.
There's no plastic here.
All natural.
All natural. So fuck her and her surgeries.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely something really structurally wrong about anyone who, on the one hand, they want to play on the fact that they're from whatever community, but yet then they want to destroy everyone else in the community just to make some money, or some power, some influence, And this is the reason why I'm done with Dave Chappelle. Because I've had some people say, "Oh, well, he's so great," but I'm like, yeah, but the all the beyond all the hateful anti-trans stuff he said, the absolute end of the road for me was that he basically weaponized the struggle of black people in America to hurt other people.
Right.
I'm like, how dare you?
Right.
Like, our struggle too. Who the fuck are you, dude? You can't do that.
Yeah.
And he's like bitter that Caitlyn Jenner had it easier for people accepting her new name than Muhammad Ali did. I'm like, but isn't that what we want? Isn't it what we want, that if people change their name, even if people don't accept trans people as what they are, at least if they fucking accept the person's name, right? That's
Right.
a good thing.
That's
So
a good thing.
if I change my name to Hortense tomorrow, everybody should fucking call me Hortense, right? And here's the irony of it, Raven. If I did that tomorrow, people might laugh at me, but they would still do it, because I'm not a trans woman. I'm not a trans person at all. So they'd be like, okay, Hortense, and they'd laugh, but they would do it. But if I said, oh, and by the way, I'm also a woman, then they're like, oh, no.
Well, I mean, right. That's the John Wayne meme, right?
Yeah.
Everybody has no problem calling that person John Wayne, but that's not his name. His name is Marion Morrison.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you're not calling him Marion, then you don't get to call Caitlyn Bruce or any other bullshit like that.
Right. Exactly. So in German it's called Mein Kampf. Chappelle had to struggle too. I'm not sure.
I have no doubt that Chappelle had a struggle. The problem is he's weaponizing it to hurt other people who are also struggling. That's the problem I have.
So, because I am not black, I'm sorry, guys. For those of you who didn't know, I am not I'm not a black woman.
The hell you say?
I'm not, but I can be fierce.
You are
But
fierce.
not that fierce. But so I'm not. So anyway, so because I'm not black, I think that aspect of his special kind of went past me. I didn't pick up on that until you mentioned it, and then I was like, actually, yeah, you're right. That's exactly what he did. But I mean, it went past me. What got me, other than the jokes, was how he weaponized a dead trans woman and misgendered her while doing it, while claiming to love her and being a friend.
Right.
That was really disgusting. So
yeah, it was shitty on so many angles, and that's the thing. So, I had Tombstone, the Dead Man, Landon.
I don't know. From what
he used to be a Rational Warrior on YouTube.
Okay, yes, Russell.
Yeah. So basically, after that show, like they were doing they do a show on Saturdays, and I hadn't seen Chappelle yet, and they were basically making they ended up making the same point I did, and I was like, yeah. And then the next following week we talked about it again. I'm like, yeah, man, like how dare you, like especially like keeping trans people down doesn't help black people get forward.
Yeah, no, it doesn't help anybody.
It's this very right-wing zero-sum game kind of thing. Well, in order for me to get ahead, somebody else has to get behind. No, it's not pie.
Hang on 1 second. Yeah, it's not. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's not like there's a finite amount of slices that exist. Neeb, correct. He was her friend. But that's not what he said. He said he was his friend. So he misgendered her to the world after she died, and she was obviously powerless to do anything. And he used that supposed friendship to make a bigoted point about the kind of person she was. That's disgusting.
Yeah.
It's absolutely disgusting. To do that to your friend who is dead, fuck that. Fuck that shit. That's
I have a little bit of an aside there on this issue, though. I don't know. Like, I'm great with whatever your pronouns want to be. That's you, and I will happily. It's not about me. Like, this is what you want to be called. That's great. But like when I call like text service with Apple, and I can't like I was homeschooled, so that part of my brain to like remember people's names was never properly developed. So I don't want to say yes or no, ma'am, kind of thing, because that's assuming what they are, and so it's getting difficult. Like it's a me problem, you know. But
Well, I mean, I don't know if anybody gets mad at you over the phone because you don't know what their gender is. That's their problem, though.
is it?
Because,
I-
well, yeah, because I mean, B. Arthur. If you were on the phone with B. Arthur, would you know you were talking to a woman?
Sure, that's always been a thing. Like somebody has a woman has a deep voice, and you say, "Sir, you feel like a fucking idiot."
But you have no way of knowing.
Right.
The woman in that video that we were watching earlier, your penis is too small.
Yeah.
Did she sound like a woman?
So it's still acceptable then to use yes, ma'am, no, sir, kind of thing
Well, I
on the
mean,
phone.
if you can't see the person that you're talking to, you don't know how they identify or how they represent. All you know is what they sound like. There's nothing wrong with making that kind of assumption. And if you're
Right.
wrong, just say you're sorry. It would not. I would not be offended, and I am not offended when people on the phone call me sir.
Okay. As
You
if,
know,
like, if it was being offensive and makes me look like a bigoted fucking idiot redneck.
no, if you're standing in front of a person who looks like me, right?
Yeah.
And you say sir, that's upsetting because
Sure.
you know it's wrong.
Right. What's the
I,
thing?
I'm
And,
sorry,
and,
go
and
ahead.
even and even just say someone is like where you really couldn't tell, right? That happens. So if you get it wrong, basically, all it really is accept the correction. Most people I've seen, you might find some extremists who might flip the fuck out, but generally speaking, if someone says you say sir and they say it's ma'am, and you go oh okay, and then you just move on and say ma'am and you
Right.
comply, that's usually enough.
Right. Like
Yeah.
being wrong on the phone about somebody's gender based on the sound of their voice isn't being an asshole. It's just being wrong.
I
And
don't even like it though. Like when I do a group chat with you and TJ, and it's like, hey guys, like I feel like I'm being bad
I don't see
doing that.
guys in that context.
I
Guys
use it colloquially.
isn't a
Like,
gender
you know,
term, though.
yeah, like just
Dude is
call
not-
everyone dude or something.
Dude is
right?
I know that there are a lot of trans people that don't like dude. They get upset with dude.
Yeah, I
Dude
understand
is
that, but
really
it
gender
comes
because
out like
I've always called women dude.
Yeah,
right. Yeah,
it's just a New Jersey thing. We just call people dude.
that's how I've always been too. That's how I grew up. And
So I wanted to say that
Doesn't make it right.
really quick, though. I wanted to go back to Neve, who was really upsetting me tonight. Neve says it's comedy, but it isn't comedy. Like he told some jokes that were trans jokes that were actual comedy that were funny. He made the joke about the trans man peeing in the urinal by sitting on it and saying that their back got wet. That was hilarious. That was a joke. That was a joke. That was comedy. It was a trans joke. It was not mean-spirited. It was funny. But most of the rest of his skit wasn't comedy. You can't stand on stage and just say, I think trans people are disgusting and they're phony and what they're doing is blackface. But this is comedy. So you can't get mad at me for it. Insulting people just to insult them because of the demographic they belong to is not a joke. That's
Well,
not.
here's the thing. Even if someone wants to say, well, it's a joke, right? All right, well, it's a mean ass joke.
It's a
And
mean,
I don't
right, mean joke. Or how about this? Where's the punchline?
Right.
you don't think that comedy gets a little bit more leeway though? The fact that it's comedy,
Comedy gets
to
all,
get away with.
but it has to
It
be
does,
actual
yeah.
comedy. It has to be a joke. It has to qualify as a joke. And
It's not default comedy being
Just
presented by a comedian.
what happened?
It's not default comedy. The fact that it's a comedian presenting this material or saying what they're saying, it doesn't make it comedy.
So if a comedian saw somebody on the street and decided to smack him in the head with a baseball bat,
I guess I would specify it more like, especially at a show when they're doing a stand-up routine.
So,
Like,
so
even
if,
to say it
so if a
should be
comedian is
default.
standing on stage and sees somebody in the audience and decides to throw his glass at the person and hit him in the head because they think it's funny, does that make it comedy?
No, there's certainly red lines to everything. I'm
There you
just
go.
saying.
There you go. But there you go.
The bar,
So
the
I mean,
thing, it's changing what that line is.
Well,
right. What I just did was argumentum ad absurdum, and that was to point out the fact that exactly what you realized when I said it was there are red lines. Yes, there are red lines.
Right.
Because there are.
Well, and the other thing too, that to the comedians that are complaining Here's the thing I think is kind of hilarious about it. They're acting like any of this is new, right? George Carlin and Lenny Bruce were arrested for shit they said. In fact, Lenny Bruce was arrested multiple times for things he said because he was obscene, because he used a certain word or he said stuff that upset Christians or whatever.
Sure. And I'm thinking like political comedy.
Yeah,
All
and
kind
this
of
is
shit.
what I got really pissed off at Michael Palin and John Cleese when they signed on to that thing defending J.K. Rowling. And I'm like, and they're like, oh, people can't say anything. Like, dude, motherfuckers, you had a movie that was banned, literally banned. Like, government people went and said, no, you can't show
Is it
this
Video
movie in
Nasty?
this theater, Life of Brian, because Christians got upset.
Mm-hmm.
And you want to say that someone's saying that your joke that was attacking a marginalized group, that's somehow like that's the line people shouldn't cross. Like, no, you were fucking banned, just like Bill Maher. Bill Maher goes off about cancel culture.
He does a lot, yes.
It wasn't leftist that got you actually canceled off of ABC
Yeah.
in 2001.
Standing up on a stage in front of people and shouting racist terms, right?
Well, I would think Michael Richards, Kramer, is a perfect example of that.
Right. That wasn't comedy. He fucking never worked again. Because
It's
what
not
he did
across
wasn't
the line.
comedy. Well, that's exactly what Dave Chappelle did. That wasn't comedy. You can't just say, well, there are a lot of comedians that I don't like, and I don't like their comedy, but I recognize that it's comedy.
Right.
I just don't like it. What Dave Chappelle did was not comedy. It was just shouting bigoted words.
Well, I wasn't against or trying to argue what you were saying, and I completely agree with you, but you definitely made the case, and it definitely clears it up more in my head how you're presenting it.
Well,
I
and
thought
I
it was
want to
against you.
give you a good
He
example.
literally said that trans people aren't real. He literally said that he is Team TERF. If you don't know what TERF is trans exclusionary radical feminist.
So I'm not aware of any of this.
The whole point, he said that. He said, I am Team TERF. TERFs, their entire thing is they're anti-trans, that trans people should not exist in the public sphere because everything they do, that trans people do, is fake, right? That's it. Trans women are not women. That is their point. So when Dave Chappelle says, I am Team TERF, what he's saying is, I am anti-trans. That's not comedy. That's not a joke. I don't give a.
I wasn't aware of any of this. Like, I didn't watch him. I didn't watch the special.
I don't give a flying fuck that it was pre-written. It was pre-written and rehearsed. Doesn't
That
mean
should make it worse.
comedy.
Yeah.
It means that he intentionally sat down and wrote an act that he knew would be nothing but a string of hatred and bigotry on purpose.
Do you think he did it as a joke, or this was going to cause?
He had
as a millionaire with a special on Netflix, giving him one of the world's largest platforms,
and it's making people talk about it.
He spewed hatred and bigotry like he was fucking Hitler himself.
Well, and the thing about it is that his two previous specials, he had said stuff that, like, the first time he said something that was maybe a bit questionable, but it wasn't too harsh. So but the trans community took him to task. So then he basically reacted badly to that. Again, it was some editing. It's like, dude, just think about what you're saying. You know, and the thing is, in that first one, I actually got what he was getting at, but I understood why people. I also understood the reaction. And then instead of like trying to learn from it, he kind of doubled down. And then this was going to be the one, oh, I'm not going to talk about trans issues anymore. This is my final thing. And it made it sound like he was going to try to, this was like a rapprochement. I'm going to kind of like, bury the hatchet with the trans community. Instead, he quadrupled down. But here's a good example about comedy and it being offensive. Jimmy Carr. Are you familiar with Jimmy Carr?
Yep.
Jimmy Carr, most of his jokes are offensive, right?
Yes.
But they're fucking funny because
they're funny because they're jokes.
What makes them just jokes is that it's absurdism. He goes to such ridiculous extreme that you know that he doesn't really mean it. That this is not something that's in his heart. He's just kind of seeing the line and then taking a flamethrower to it. But again, he's not doing his goal and is not at all to hurt. And there's nothing really hurtful in what he's saying because it's absurdism.
Andrew Dice Clay, thank you, Alpha. Andrew Dice Clay is a comedian. He is a comedian, and his acts were extremely offensive. Extremely offensive. But they were jokes. They were jokes. They were constructed in a way that they were jokes. He didn't just stand up on stage and just insult entire demographics of people. He told jokes.
Hell,
Can I
even
clarify something?
even Don Rickles, who was an insult comic, told jokes.
And he was an insult comic.
I'm just gonna clarify something real quick for the chat there. If people are asking like to come on or anything.
No, Neeb is asking to come on. And
well, I'm just simulcasting the show. It's Raven's show tonight, and she invited me on her show, and I'm just simulcasting it to the goddamn podcast. So it's not my place to bring people on. That's not.
You're live on 2 different channels right now, so. I actually saw a Jimmy Carr special a couple of months ago, and I was just like, man, this guy's so fucking offensive. I love it. I like offensive comedy. I like insult comedy. There's nothing about what Dave Chappelle did in his last 3 specials that qualify as comedy. I watched his special after Floyd. Oh my God. The Floyd murder. Fucking, why am I drawing a blank? And I thought it was fantastically done. I sat and I watched it, and there were parts of it where it was somber, and he constructed that entire show so perfectly. And I was like, yeah. And then I watched his fucking show, and he went on a rampage about trans people. And I was like, this isn't even funny. Like, there's no construction to this. This is just, I'm just going to insult an entire demographic of people who are already a marginalized group and being attacked. I am only going to make their lives harder. And as somebody who got paid millions of dollars for the world's largest platform, he knew that some of the things that he was saying could put people in danger. He endangered people because now these people have to walk on the streets in their communities and be attacked by Dave Chappelle fans.
Right. Yeah, and you know, and to Neebu's point about Jimmy Carr's joke that he did about flying planes into buildings in Saudi Arabia. So again, context is everything, right? That could be said in a way with the same words. You could use the exact same words and have it be not only offensive but really just mean and hateful. But again, how the context of how he says it, now he puts it forward. Again, it's absurdism. It's absurdist. And that's the reason why you don't see a lot of right-wing comedians. Not all comedians are leftists, but
you don't see a lot of
right-wing comedians because right-wing, what they consider humor, a lot of it's just mean. It's just mean.
You're a minority here because you're a straight cisgender strong.
Masculine male.
What is strong?
Money that drives him like strong.
Masculine man with money that drives a motorcycle and wears a MAGA hat. You wear a MAGA hat?
I only do it ironically.
Dude, wait. Neeb, did you vote for Trump?
Well, I sent you that movie there that I wanted to do, the 2000 Mules, right, Raven? I don't know if you're familiar with that movie or watched any of that. It's Dinesh D'Souza, and Neeb uses that movie as an example of evidence for the election being stolen in 2020.
Yeah, nonsense.
What movie?
2000 Mules. It's a new propaganda piece by Dinesh D'Souza.
Oh, God.
Oh, thank God. All right. So Neeb, how do I contact you? Oh, you're Canadian, and you wear a MAGA hat, or are you joking about the MAGA hat?
Probably does. His politics align with that.
Oh, seriously? He's a maggot?
Pretty sure. Again, going off the 2000 Mules and Dinesh D'Souza, using that as evidence that Trump legit won.
No, I mean Neeb.
Yeah. Neeb talks about that movie in that context.
What?
Wanted to have him on in a hangout and watch that movie, but he doesn't want his pausing every 3 seconds
That's
to shit
actually
on him.
not what was, quote unquote, admitted. So, again, this is
Yeah, no, it's bullshit. So you want me to help give you a platform to push misinformation, conspiracy theorist bullshit, and just your general mental masturbation. I don't think so. I was going to bring you on. I was going to give you the link. Nope. Fuck you.
yeah.
I like the response. It's appropriate and fitting.
You know what, Nate? I've known you for a long time on a lot of different places on YouTube. I never had an issue with you, but you know what? Go fuck yourself. You are legitimately probably one of the biggest pieces of shit I've ever spoken to on this website. That's not even. I'm not.
Again, like the response. I mean, enough's enough with the fucking around with this Trump shit.
It's just no hyperbole or exaggeration. You fuck yourself. I mean, especially if you're like defending so passionately a piece of shit like Dave Chappelle, motherfucker who bought a piece of property just to keep housing from being built on it because fuck other people, right?
Yeah.
Fuck him. Fuck you. Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
Certainly how a lot of us feel. I'm sick of all this shit with Trump. I'm sick of hearing him. I'm sick of the fucking 4 years of everyday's fucking drama. What the fuck dumpster fires today? It's nice having quiet politics.
Yeah. Yeah. Some people are like, oh, Joe, Joe Biden's boring. Good.
That's what government's supposed to be.
I don't want an exciting president because what some people consider exciting, I consider nerve-wracking.
Yeah, go to a public council meeting or any kind of anything political is boring as fuck. It's not supposed to be a reality show. Dumpster fire.
Actually, reminds me of
III?
There's a Tool song called Stinkfist, and it's allegorical. It's one of my favorite songs. And but the one the bridge is there's something kind of sad about the way that things have come to be, desensitized to everything. What became of subtlety? How can this mean anything to me when I really don't feel a thing at all?
My computer's being wonky again. Open, damn it.
I mean, if you want to talk about Trump or something, as long as it's not the shit like, oh, he legit won, it was stolen from him.
Yeah.
Or defending this recent shit with the FBI going to his clubhouse. Any defense of that, I can't take. I mean, it's mental gymnastics. Defend this shit.
The Canada QAnon queen is mind blowing. No fucking shit. Oh my god, what happened to Canada?
I'm not sure. We've always had our share of crazies.
Well, I was gonna say I can't remember his name. What the fuck was that one dude? The Canadian's name on YouTube who used to have the American flag behind him. Another conservative. He was a whack job. He actually got. Well, he wasn't like real big, but he got fairly well known for a little while. He did a video where he kind of like did his take on that graduation speech, about 300 people watching you.
The Canadian trucker shit, even. I mean, what has that been, like a year now? But that whole movement was fucking bullshit too. That blew up. I don't understand the crazies up here. If that's the hill they're gonna fucking die on, about having to be inoculated with all the other shit that the government imposes on truckers. That's what you're going to fucking bitch about. I have no patience for it.
It's going to drive me crazy trying to remember that YouTuber's name. Fuck. Oh well. I remember making a video response to him once. Something about a dildo. God. All that stuff is gone. Oh well.
Left your brain.
A republic is superior to the parliamentary system. I'm hilarious. Some Canadians are more interested in U.S. politics than Canadian politics. Me too. I don't get it.
Because it's boring. It's very boring. Parliamentary
I don't know.
Events are
I've watched
boring.
the British Parliament in action, and I seen fist fights and lots of yelling. I don't know. They're not boring.
The boring stuff is boring though. So is American shit for the most part, but it's specifically Trump that made it a reality show.
What was that guy's name? Fuck. I remember it was a couple of years, about 2 or 3 years after Peach and I had been together, and this motherfucker, I don't remember his name. It's driving me crazy. Said something about me and Peach, and then even Richard Coughlin had to go and tell him to shut the fuck up. I don't remember. It's gonna drive me crazy.
And again, monkeypox is not something that's.
Wait, who said something about monkeypox?
Stephen, don't worry, these gays won't take the monkeypox shot to save your ass.
So people aren't dying from monkeypox. That's number one. Number two, it's not a sexually transmitted disease. And number three, it's caused by very close contact, which is why gay people are getting it, because apparently only gay people are the people having sex these days.
Who the hell wants to have sex with a straight person? I mean, shit.
It's any kind of contact with somebody that's symptomatic.
So, but I mean, it isn't an STD, and gay people, unfortunately, a lot of viruses seem to go through the gay community faster and first, because gay people have a lot of sex. I mean, that's really what it is. There's a lot of close contact, and quite often with multiple people.
It's a big thing. So circumstances possibly around the sexual encounters might not be as hygienic.
Yeah, men who have sex with men in the UK. So I said gay. I didn't say LGBT. I said gay. So typically, gay is understood to mean men who have sex with men. Gay as an umbrella term, though, does cover quite a lot of people. But typically, when people say gay, when they say gay sex, they really mean man on man. Typically. I didn't realize you were pedantic also, so. I mean, you can be a Trump fan and pedantic at the same time.
Oof.
That's some mental acrobatics right there.
Oof.
So they've released the affidavit with the Mar-a-Lago raid, if you will, to.
Okay, so I don't know how children and dogs get it. It's not an STD. Skin contact. So if you have it and you have a dog and you wrap your arms around your dog and give your dog a hug.
Right, because you have boils on your skin, which are
it isn't an STD. It's not an STD. Okay, I can't block. I can't kick Neeb out of the thing. I wish I could, but we're both mods and I can't get rid of him. But I wish I could, because he just called gay people pedos. So there you go.
Yeah, so I know I would not ever want to be in a conversation with that person.
So Neeb, go fuck yourself. You homophobic piece of shit. It's why aren't bi men and women are getting it?
Yeah, of course.
People of all demographics are getting it. It's just prevalent with gay men. And that doesn't mean anything other than gay people have a lot of sex. Oh, please do leave. And you can go and you can tell TJ that I asked you to leave.
Shit.
You can go ahead and say whatever you want to say to anybody you want to say it to. You can tell them how mean I was to you, because you know what? You're a fucking piece of shit.
Actually, Neeb, you said, I don't know how children and dogs get it, and then you said, Stephen, correct, some pedo shit. You literally said
pedo shit after saying that it was gay men that were having it. So yes, you did say that. So go fuck yourself. You're a fucking piece of shit. You're a homophobe. You are the one of the dumbest motherfucking fucks I ever had the chance to fucking talk to. Fuck off.
Steven's right
Out,
there with him.
leave. Just leave.
Also,
Never come back while I am on.
Also, there's a why aren't bi men's females getting it? No one said that they're not.
No one said
you
that
made an assumption. All that Raven said is that gay men are getting it more. Period. End of statement. Because again, probably because of a lot of contact. But again, it's not sexually transmitted. It does not take sex to transmit monkeypox or whatever the probably more appropriate name is for it.
So what's up? Pedo shit. Fucking asshole. I'm you all by yourself. You are a fucking piece of work. Fuck you.
Yeah, well, and the thing is to what some fat guy said before about the wackies in Canada. I mean, I've known this for a long time. I mean, when I lived in Buffalo, I was dating a Quebecois woman who's also mixed race, and she was a go-go dancer, and so I would go and pick her up, at the end of her work day, and so you get there a little bit, you hear these guys, and especially like it wasn't so bad in Niagara Falls, but Niagara on the Lake. Oh my God, that place, the whole fucking town, at least at the time, was like all fucking racist. And they used to say all sorts of racist shit.
Niagara, like in the city of Niagara? That's surprising because it's a tourist. You think it would be pretty
Niagara on the Lake.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, which is a much smaller community. But
okay. So wait. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Joe. But Neeb said that they're leaving, but clearly read what I have said. I did. You said, why aren't bi men and women getting it? Right? That's what you said. You said that it's gay men that are getting it. And then you said that kids are getting it because it's pedo shit. So, yes, you very clearly said that gay men are pedophiles. That's what you said. You might not have said that exact sentence, but all of your comments taken together leads to only one conclusion. You're a homophobe who calls gay men pedos. So go fuck yourself. Don't ever come back when I'm on. If I'm not on, feel free. If I'm here, I'm leaving. I will not be on this show. I will tell TJ, I will not be on this show if you're watching. I
think that needs to be done. It's only fair that if you stand for positions that are against the better society, that are fucking batshit crazy, don't expect to play with the people that want to participate in society. Want an intellectual conversation.
Everyone who is watching that is in the goddamn podcast Discord with me. I'm in there too, right? If you're here watching and we're in that, please let Coctopus know that I said tonight I will not participate on the goddamn podcast ever again if Neeb remains in the chat. Won't do it. I do not wish to be on camera when a known homophobic piece of shit is going to be in the chat while I'm on. I deserve better than that. Nope. Not doing it. Fuck you, Neeb. Fuck you. I had no idea that this was you. I had no idea that you were a right winger. I had no idea that you had these ideas and these thoughts about gay people. Never knew.
Where did Ray?
I had known you for over a decade. I never knew this about you. Go fuck yourself.
Well, and I also want to address Stephen James saying here, Raven, you were extrapolating to mean everyone is like that. When did she say that? When? I defy you to quote something that she said that implied anybody besides Neeboops is like that.
At this point, though, everyone's feeding the trolls, especially Steven is out there for the fucking lols and troll. Like I'm so happy Fauci resigned. It's just trying to fucking spark shit. So
I'll never understand trolls. I'll never ever understand trolls. So, why people like getting under people.
They want attention.
Stupid. It's
fucking lame.
They have nothing constructive to say or to add to a conversation. So it's the only way you get the fucking attention to them.
Here's the thing, right? Here's the thing. Steven, actually, this isn't what I was going to say when I said here's the thing. I'm switching gears mid-sentence. I'm sorry. So ban me too, right? You're extrapolating to mean everyone is like that. Number one, no, I'm not, and there's no evidence that I said anything that would make that statement make any sense. Number one. Number two, ban you too. I can't ban you, right? This isn't my thing. I'm not going to ban you.
It's pretty rare like that. I'll remove someone's comment. There was somebody in the. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Steven, you've been taunting me, right, to attack you ever since my first day on the goddamn podcast. Every single time. And every single time I say something about it or say something to you, I am reminded that you're a member. And I bite my tongue. And I allow you to swipe at me. But then just recently I found out you're not a member.
Steven's not a member. Yeah, I was going to say.
So, personally, TJ might disagree. I think you're a piece of shit. So whether you leave or not, whatever, that's up to you. I didn't tell you to leave. But I think you're a piece of shit. I do. I think you're a horrible person. I think you're a troll. But I think a lot of what you say isn't trollish. I think it's real. I think you really believe some of the shit you say because you say it so repeatedly and so perfectly, like it just rolled out of Tucker Carlson's mouth.
Right.
As if you're connected dick to lip.
Yeah. Ass to mouth.
That was even better. Ass to mouth. You're swallowing the shit he pushes out.
Oh man.
And then you vomit it back up here.
Another Canadian I remember who was a complete piece of shit was do you remember Sardonic Skeptic?
Sardonic.
Yes.
Yes, that's who I was talking about. That's the piece of shit. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, see, the thing was, because he was weird. Like he had seemed like an okay guy for a while,
right?
And then he makes this video. He got a job and he was making like $16 an hour, which okay, whatever. It's not that impressive, but he was really chuffed with himself for getting $16 an hour. And then he just started putting all those bigoted shit. I'm like, whoa, where the fuck did that come from? So it really kind of floored me because I liked the dude up to that point. And I was like, and he basically said that like, well, black people couldn't do what I do. I'm like, I have my own engineering firm. What are you talking about? And he's like, no, you don't. I'm like, I'll make a video of my office. I'll doc drop myself and I'll prove to you that I own a company. And he says, I won't watch it or care. Like, oh, okay. So you know, yeah, it was funny because he was one of these people who would talk about how people are building a narrative. Like, wow, so you've built a narrative now, and you refuse to look at anything that would dissuade you of your narrative, and you'd rather keep the narrative than know the truth. And mind you, he was attacking, I earlier, because he was pretty good at attacking Christians. I realized, oh, you're just a bigot. Okay, you're not a skeptic, you're a bigot. That's different. That's different. You just hate Christians too. Okay, I got you. And I'm not a Christian, but I mean, obviously, his attack on Christianity had nothing to do with skepticism. It was all about just being an edgelord.
Apparently, he hasn't made a video in like 10 years.
Good.
Yeah.
Not missing anything. Well, the thing too is I thought it was hilarious. This guy was like, I'm making $16 an hour. And I'm like, yeah, I made that in fucking the 90s. when I lost a job and I got an interim job and
So what's interesting about Stephen James, I've had him on the Hangout shows or on like my channel, and then a face-to-face conversation, if you will. He doesn't say the crazy shit. But when he's behind just a keyboard and can be more anonymous,
right?
He lets loose a lot.
Okay, here's the thing: is like I can see what he said on the goddamn podcast, the screen, but it's not showing up in the chat. So I can only kind of, shit.
You have live chat on or top chat? Sounds
enjoy your something.
Democratic, I assume.
Democratic something
Human
I
centipede.
got good stuff to watch. Oh, and you are boobs. You are boobs.
I pointed out earlier, it's not how you use your
personality. Yeah, my boobs are real. My boobs are real.
Dumbass.
So I mean, you brought them up, I guess. So you're looking at them. That's fine.
As
But,
someone
I
who
mean,
has known
maybe
Raven
it's
for
on purpose. You know.
as someone who's known Raven for at least 12 years, um, and know that she had boobs before she transitioned, they're hers.
Who says that though? Like, it's so fucking. Are you
Well,
12?
it's like a little child, right? Whoa,
Yeah.
you have fake boobs.
Yeah, this is a grown man, an adult.
No,
Plastic
he's not.
plastic carts are made for toys.
See, that thing is okay. So this is a grown person. This is not an adult person.
Ah, yes, yes.
There's a
Yes.
difference.
It's a person of a certain age, not an adult.
Yeah. Well, it's just like I don't know. Like again, right wingers like so the She-Hulk show has been on Disney Plus. There's been 2 episodes. I've been liking the show for so far. Now I never read the comic, but I've got friends who have been reading it since she started, and they're out there. Oh, it's wokeism and it's nothing like the comics. And then my friends who have actually read the comics since the beginning, they're like, no, this is literally exactly like the comics. The only difference so far is that they slightly changed how she got, Bruce's blood into her, so how she became a Hulk. Slightly different, but she was a lawyer. The character would break the fourth wall. There was a lot of comedy. Like all the complaints are literally straight out of the comics. And these people who obviously don't read comics, but because they're like, oh, they're just anti-woke. It's the anti-woke.
Sounds like Deadpool.
Right. I saw somebody saying, "Oh, she emasculated Hulk,"
No.
and I'm like, I mean, I've watched both episodes, not at all. I mean, I have issues with the show. It's CGI. Some of it is kind of hokey.
Yeah.
The suddenly of the breaking of the fourth wall is a thing in the MCU now. Outside of Deadpool.
Well, no, but the character in the comics has done that since 1980.
So okay, then that's good. So then it's in the same realm as Deadpool, which is
Right.
fine. I just thought it was weird because it's not something you really see in the MCU.
Right.
So like when there was some joke, I don't remember the joke, and she looks at the camera and she makes a face. It's just like, oh shit, that's good. I mean, but it's different and unexpected. So it's like, okay, that's kind of weird, but there's nothing about it that like emasculates the Hulk. And there's nothing about it that really comes across as girl power, like the girl power scene in Endgame did.
Which I still love, but
And well, there's really nothing wrong with it, but you could see it was a very obvious thing that they did. I can understand why people would be put off by that, but their reasoning tends to be wrong. You know what I mean? Right. Or unreasonable, I guess.
Right. Here's one other thing too, because some people were saying that she stole the fourth wall thing from Deadpool. Deadpool didn't exist until 1991. She-Hulk existed since 1980, so she was doing for 11 years before Deadpool. So if anything, Deadpool took her shit.
Yeah, I like the show. Like I said, it's a some of the effects are hokey. That drop kick at the end of episode 1 that the alien did. It was just like, oh, come on. What is this? Mighty Morphin Power Rangers? Because it was like, she did this drop kick where
it was a bit silly. So
it's like, she's on a string. Come on.
Yeah. That was a bit silly. But but the thing is that like, well, see, as far as emasculating Hulk, no, in fact, it's something my wife and I talked about is the fact that I was glad that they showed she is strong and she got some shots in, but at the end of the day, Hulk picked her up and threw her. It just tossed her like she was a rag, and she went really fucking far.
The closest thing I got to like girl power type vibes was the fact that she easily controls her anger and her rage and can control when she is and isn't Hulk. And her explanation for that was so beautiful and spot on, because this is like, I have to do this every day of my life. And it's just like, oh my God, yes.
Right, but of course that's what the He-Man Woman Hater Club hates about it, because she's said something that's fucking true.
Yep, about a reality in society.
Right. Yeah. And the irony is the men who actually get angry and upset about that, they are the cause of women feeling that way in the first fucking place.
Yep, it's true. And I wanted to say that Alpha, until tonight, I thought you were a guy. I did. Partly because there are no women on the internet.
Oh, that reminds. I won't say the person's last name. I don't want to doctor up anybody, but there was somebody who routinely responds to the True Puka on Facebook,
Okay.
and forever I've been reading their name as Michael. But then I realized last night, because or a couple nights ago, I got an argument with them, and I went and looked at their profile, and I realized, oh shit, no, it's Michelle, and it always has been. But I've been reading it as so. I thought this person was a dude forever, but I was totally wrong.
Gender capitalist. Okay, what does that mean?
What's the gender? Can we trade gender on the stock market?
Lady police dog trainer. I had no idea. I'm not going to apologize though, because I got no reason to apologize.
But well, I kind of got the idea earlier when she said that try being 13, and like basically the idea that like she was super skinny and had not much of a chest to speak of, and so I was like, oh, okay, I guess
I took that as being, in their 20s and having the body of a young boy, because
Right.
I had that. I was like that until I was in my 30s.
Mm.
I mean, there's a picture that I pass around. I'm like, look at this. Yeah, I was 37 years old, and I call it my emo vampire picture. But I look like I'm like 20, and I'm 37 years old. So when I tell people now how old I am, and they're like, "Holy shit, I thought you were in your 30s." And I was like, "Yeah, no, I'm in my 50s."
Yeah, you and me both. Well, that's one thing that's kind of funny. I look at people from like way back who are our age now, or they were our age then. Now, as we are now, and they look so much older than we do.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what's the name of that channel? Oh, why am I having such a hard time with names tonight?
So I'm having
look on his name, something sauce. Big channel. Big channel. One of the biggest channels on YouTube. Fuck. Anyway, he does science videos where he explains things. It's Michael from Vsauce.
Oh
yeah,
I'm not familiar.
He had a video about did people really look older years ago, than they did now? And the answer is actually yes. That we are aging differently than just a couple of generations ago.
Yeah,
where people who were like 20, they looked like they were in their 30s. When today, people who are 20 look a little bit younger.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It was kind of amazing, I even noticed it when I was in high school. I remember I was like, I guess it was junior year in English class, and we watched some movie, and so they were talking. This is like mid '80s, and the film strip was like late '60s, very early '70s time frame, I think. And I said, so I actually remarked to the teacher, like, wow, people like even 20 years ago looked a lot older at the same age as now. And I think somehow that she thought I was complimenting her. So then she was really like a lot nicer to me after that.
Yeah.
So it was weird. I'm like, oh no, I wasn't hitting on you. Which is, and it's important to say that because she actually did go to somebody's prom. There was 2 high schools in my town. She actually did go to the prom, one of the other schools' prom with a student, which is pretty fucked up.
Okay. Alpha. I think I might too. It's hard for me to say since I have no idea what it means, but
well, I looked it up. So basically, it's someone that recognizes that there are certain advantages and disadvantages to being a specific sex or gender, and then tries to like basically exploit that. Yeah. Which and that's the thing. That's something. Well, Tracy Harris. That's something that she's pointed out. Like men will basically set up this system where for a lot of women, they're having up until maybe very recently, there haven't been as many opportunities, and there's still not as many opportunities for women, generally speaking, as there are for men. So one of the ways that women could capitalize on was their sexuality, their body, their physique. And then men get mad, and men react to it, but then get mad when women do it. It's like, yeah, but we basically told women that's your major cachet is your body and your sexuality, and then so don't get mad if she uses that in the way that we've set up for that to be.
Jimmy Jones, I think maybe you might be right, something like that. That is mostly, not all. If I remember correctly, the conclusion was that there is, yes, a difference, but the difference isn't as wide or as broad as we think it is. That it's mostly psychological, and yeah, it was because the type of work people did years ago aged them. So. And that was a large part of it. So basically, yes.
Well, that's the thing. I look back at pictures. I remember when I was a kid, and my grandmother was in her like mid 50s. So I'm gonna be 54 very soon, and I'm like, wow, grandma looked way older and she looked young. She looked young for her age at the time, and she looked way older than me.
Yeah.
So Alpha, so there's this thing that might not be the same thing, but since I transitioned, there are men who were willing to buy me stuff that before I transitioned, there was no way in hell that was happening. So I mean, I can take advantage of my gender identity to get men to pay for shit for me. So, I mean, that I think falls under that umbrella.
Did you ever see the movie PCU?
No.
Oh, it's 90s Jeremy Piven. What's his name? Happy Hogan. What's his name? The guy who plays Happy Hogan.
Oh, Jon Favreau.
Jon Favreau. Is in it, and yeah, it's like one of his first movies but him actually as an actor. And so there's one point. So there's this, and so basically it's kind of it's a little obnoxious, but basically it's like it's making fun of political correctness, but they kind of it's somewhat lighthearted though, so it's still kind of cool. And so at one point there's this group of very angry feminists, and they're all very stereotypical. And then at one point, the jock kind of dude goes up to one of the women's like, "Hey, you want a brew dog?" And then the head of the feminist, she's like, "We're not interested in your penis." And then this other girl's like, "No, I think she says, no, yes, we would like a beer." And then the guy's like, "Yeah, sure." And he goes and gets beer, and she's like, "Wait, if you're nice to them, they bring you things?"
I am.
Oh wow!
I am upset about Stephen James and the Neeb thing. I'm still upset about that. I'm upset. I'm more upset with Stephen than I am Neeb. Even though Neeb,
I just see Neeb where you've had a history of knowing them for so long.
I had no idea. And here's what upsets me about the Stephen James thing. I wasn't talking to him.
Sure.
Like he intentionally got offended on somebody else's behalf.
Mm-hmm. Well, inserting himself into the conversation.
Right, yeah, he inserted himself, and it's just like, this had nothing to do with you. I wasn't talking to you. I wasn't talking about you. And then just to assert that I was extrapolating to everyone that was right wing, I guess is what he meant. I find that more upsetting.
But the thing is, and you didn't even imply it.
No, I didn't imply it at all. I find that more upsetting because he intentionally wanted me to fight with him. And it's something, if you go back and pay attention to the chats and stuff and past streams with TJ, I mean, it's something that Stephen James has done multiple times, is to try to engage me. Like he would misgender me on purpose. And then even said in the chat on one of the shows that because I was born a man, I'm still a man.
Well, he did this with Amanda as well. Pale Blue Mama, when she would come on to host on the podcast, just shit talking to shit talk to trigger
Yeah,
or get a response.
when we get to the
Attention.
even if someone feels like that, they really like honestly feel that way. I'm like, it's like you don't have to say it. You literally, I mean, yeah, yes, you can say whatever you want, but that doesn't mean you.
Oh yeah, it's a free country. It's what the fuck you want.
Yeah.
Sure,
Well,
but it's also your show.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. I mean,
Well, okay. Here's the thing: is yeah. It is. Just because that it's broadcasting on the goddamn podcast doesn't really change anything. It is my show.
But you also are a regular host on the goddamn podcast too.
Right, but it's not my show. That's TJ's show.
But if you're going to come to the show,
no, I
you're
mean,
gonna,
I understand what you're saying.
work here.
I work here. I understand what you're saying, and I am a member of the goddamn podcast crew. That's kind of how I see it. But at the end of the day, it's TJ's show. He can tell you to take a walk. He can tell me to take a walk.
Sure,
It's his show. You know, if it was it was my show, he couldn't do that, but he can because it's his.
Right.
Joe and I, on the last time we were on camera together, I am a very dominant speaker normally. I'm very quiet on the goddamn podcast when TJ's on because it's his show, and I respect that it's his show, so I shut up. I try to squeeze in where I can, right? But I'm normally a very dominant speaker, and this is a thing I know. Joe is a very dominant speaker also. And we step on each other frequently. And it's not something that bruises either one of us. We know who we are. We've been friends for well over a decade. We know who we are. The last time we were on camera together, and I think it might have been just what was happening in the world at the time, everybody was angry and on edge. Joe lost his shit and he rage quit, which caused me to rage quit after ranting for another half hour. And then I deleted that show. So one of the things I said after Joe left, and I think Joe might have been watching. I was actually counting on the fact that he was watching. I don't know if you were or not, Joe.
I wasn't. No,
you were. I was kind of counting on it because I explained that. I said, I'm sorry, Joe. I was actually speaking to the cameras if you're there. Joe, I'm sorry that you felt that way. But at the end of the day, this is my show. And if I want to steer the conversation one way or the other, I might sometimes step on you to do that. And I was trying to steer in a very particular direction.
Right. The thing is, I was upset about wasn't that. I mean, again, we step on each other all the time. It was that you're. I felt that you were misrepresenting what I was saying, and you were kind of like smug. You had kind of a smug look on, and it felt like you were. It was almost like you were clowning me, and I'm like, "Fuck that, man! You want to clown people? I'll go somewhere."
I'm not sure what you mean by clowning, but my feeling of what I was getting from you was that you felt I was being dismissive.
Yes.
And I wasn't really. I just didn't want to dwell on where we were. And I was trying to steer it.
But I just wanted to finish the point, and you wouldn't let me finish the point. And I got that's and then again, you were dismissive. I felt you were being dismissive to me, and I'm like, I know you're like, dude, just let me, sorry, but you just let me finish the fucking point. You know what I mean? It's like, come on.
I know why you felt I was being dismissive because I said, yeah, I got it, and I said, yeah, I got it because I did. I understood. So from where I was sitting, trying to move this way, right from where I was sitting, I didn't want to stay on this because I understood. So I didn't see
my thing was, can you give me 20 seconds to get it off my chest?
And also, and I thought about this later, was there were people watching that maybe didn't.
I'm bad for that
because
too.
I got it doesn't mean that the people watching got it.
Yeah,
right.
if I know what the other person's saying, so yeah, I got it. You don't have to finish it.
Right. But
I'm
like I said,
bad for that.
there were people watching that maybe didn't.
Yeah.
And by cutting him off, I was also cutting them off from understanding his point.
You didn't look at the big picture of it. It's more like you're just having a conversation directly with no audience.
Right. Yeah, that's the thing. If it was, and that's the thing. And if and that was kind of why I wanted to continue too. I was trying to like make a point for public consumption. But yeah. Unfortunately, I didn't see your apology because I was so angry. I shut my computer down and went to bed.
It wasn't really an apology.
Oh, okay.
I don't want you to think I know it was more of a explanation of why I was dismissive.
Hmm.
I didn't really think I was being dismissive, but I saw how you might think it, and I immediately thought that, and I was like, "Shit."
Well, but here's the other thing though too. Okay, about being your show, and same thing with the dinner club. Now, there's a reason why I'm kind of still upset with Paul.
I know you are.
You know, because again, I felt like okay, he created the channel, but it's the whole channel has always been a collaborative effort. I always felt it was our channel, and when
At the end of
basically
the day, at the end of the day, when all is said and done, I don't give a shit who owns the channel. That's my baby.
well, you created the original one, yeah.
Yeah.
And and
Yeah.
and so I felt like okay, he was mad at me. The thing is, he didn't. Okay, I know why he was upset with me, and I'm not even going to say he wasn't necessarily legitimate. But the thing was that he didn't really talk to me. He like asked me in a chat like while I was
Right.
in the middle of something, and I had like 12 seconds to justify what I did, and then he just starts, okay, well, new rules, and basically I felt like, oh, so okay, so I made one error, and so I'm cast out, and I felt like again, this was our show, and
Right.
I'm like, okay, well, fine, it's your show, I'm gonna go over here.
Right.
You know what I mean?
So you guys had a very different I'm gonna call it managing style.
Hmm.
And like he never really blocked people or kicked people. Like you had to really, really, really be a piece of shit for Paul to do something about it.
Right,
You are quick on the trigger finger,
absolutely.
unapologetically so. I am right there with you. I'm not as quick as you, but I'm pretty quick on the thing. Because you know what? I'm not here to argue with a million people over stupid shit like Neeb and Stephen James just now. I
Right.
did not enjoy that exchange.
No,
I know
no.
a lot of people think I
Most
do enjoy
people
that,
wouldn't.
but I didn't enjoy that. I didn't enjoy the fact that now that like I might have to answer to TJ.
Probably not.
I
I'm not
I
sure
don't.
if Neeb is
You never know.
a
It's his
Patreon
show, and he
subscriber.
makes and he makes money off the show. Actually, not a whole
Yes.
lot of money, but he makes money off the show. So I don't want to do stuff where people are like, "Yeah, fuck this. I'm not spending my money on that."
Right, right.
Uh, Do you know what I mean? I don't want to be that. I don't want to do that. It's his show, and at the end of the day, it's his reputation. And yes, Alpha, I get what you mean. All three of us make the goddamn podcast. Yeah, I get that. But it really is. This is TJ's.
Yeah,
Um, you
absolutely.
know,
That's why
you know, I'm right now.
everything I run past him.
Yeah, exactly. I'm driving his car right now. It's kind of
Right.
like
Exactly. That's
See, what
exactly.
it really, and that's the thing, and context is everything, right? Because like Steve Shives and oh, I'm drawing a blank now. They do
they do the Star Trek show.
with Jason, and they do that show.
Oh yeah, Jason.
Now
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure it's broadcast on Jason's channel, I believe, but it's their show. They are co-creators of the show. They're co-hosts of the show. So whose channel is on isn't really relevant because it's a collaborative effort, right?
right.
So and the thing now again too, as far as with Paul, like we have different styles. Well, that's the thing. I mean, we weren't having a lot of art when I was in running things. We weren't having a lot of arguments with the audience either. We had disagreements, but we weren't yelling and screaming at the screen so much.
Right.
Because here's the thing, I get people sometimes and they say, "Oh, you block too many people because blah blah blah." You should be able to talk to people with differing opinions. I can talk to people with differing opinions if they're willing to have an honest discussion. If they're willing to be, and also people that are like, "Well, you're not open minded." Well, if the other person's not open minded, then why should I be? Right? Why should I disarm myself? But then
Right.
have to let them stay where they are in intractable position.
I don't know if Kazum is still watching. Kazum was watching on the Raven J channel.
Yeah.
Not so you guys at the goddamn podcast channel did not see Kazum, but I did. He commented on my channel, and I don't know if he's still watching or not. But I mean, I could spend hours and hours screaming at Kazum. I have. I have on camera multiple times, repeatedly screaming at Kazoom. And at the end of the day, I can still talk to Kazoom.
Well, it's the thing that you said. You and I, we've had tons of fights, blocked each other a few times. Doesn't talk to each other for times. But at the end of the day, we're friends and we love each other, and we put it past it.
Right.
Friends
Like
like that.
Kazoom has. I mean, I disagree with Kazoom on many issues. I think some his approach to some things I think can be kind of ridiculous sometimes. We have a lot of disagreements, political, social, just a lot. But he would never, ever insinuate that I belong to a demographic of people that's known to be pedophiles. He would never do that. He belongs to the LGBT community also, and maybe that's why. But I mean, he would never say something as ridiculous as, LGBT people spread monkeypox and are pedophiles,
Right.
which is in essence what Neve said.
I mean, yeah.
And I should not have to put up with that from somebody in the comments, especially somebody who's a moderator. He's a moderator.
Yeah. Again, if you work here, right, you shouldn't have to put up with that. It makes it different, unfortunately, when they're a Patreon subscriber. It shouldn't, does it? It
Well,
does,
I mean, I don't know.
Well, I think that's one of the downside, and this is the reason why I think the YouTube community in general has gotten bad, because there are people who do things, either do certain things or avoid certain things, strictly because of how it's going to affect their revenue.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Um,
I have for those of you who don't know, I'll tell you right now, and hopefully it can be put somewhere where somebody can see it. But I have a Patreon account, and if you'd like to be a patron, I will happily take your money. I'm actually trying to save.
That's new, is it? I don't think you had that until recently. Patreon?
I've had that for years and years and years. I just don't have any patrons except for Joe and CRB Vegas. But I mean, I used to have more actually. Coctopus used to be a patron. That he ended that years ago, but he was a patron. The Amazing Atheist used to be a patron. Yeah, I had both TJs were giving me money.
Nice.
One was giving me 5, one was giving me 4.
Yeah, I don't think either of them ever. Well, I never had a Patreon account, but neither of them was ever a subscriber of mine, to my knowledge. But I mean, like my channel was never got big, but all the big channels knew me, and most of them still know me. It was kind of funny. It was like how, I don't know how I got known, even though the public doesn't know me, but all the big channel, all at least in our little corner of YouTube, all the people that were considered the bigger channels all knew me. Which is kind of funny.
Yeah, I mean, I did always have it wasn't never like a driving desire. I always had a desire to be able to make some money off of YouTube, and it never happened. Like I said, I got some money from the Amazing Atheist through Patreon. Coctopus, the Skeptic Fence, actually was they used to give me money until I got into a fight with Joe on there. You remember that? Live life.
Oh God, that piece of shit.
Yeah. Yeah, and I got into a back and forth with him, and Skeptic Fence stopped giving me Patreon. But whatever. It was never a lot of money, and at that time it was always for I wanted money just to have more money and more income in the house. But now my whole thing is I'm trying to save money to get a trunk. What the hell was it called? Liposuction. Because it gives you shape. Nice.
Well, if you need any fat donations, I've got plenty.
No. They're gonna take it.
Oh,
they're gonna take it. It's the abdomen and above the hips, so it gives you the
hourglass thing. I gotcha.
So,
yeah, it's funny. Last time I interacted with Live Life was at Reason Rally 2. I was hanging out having a beer with Steve Shives, having a good old time, and he told me he was going to go up to bed soon. It was late, and so Live Life comes over and wants to engage, mostly Steve, and he's telling Steve how Steve's ruining atheism and all this kind of horseshit, and so I'm just like, and I'm pissed off because I finally got to hang out with Steve. You know, it was only the second time I ever met. I met him once before, but it was only the second time we ever got a chance to hang out and in person. And this fucking guy is like, you know, going off about this bullshit. And it's funny because when he tried to rope in Dark Matter, and Dark Matter was like, maybe wasn't interested. But so at one point, Live Life says to me, he goes like Joe, you and I like we like each other, and I'm like, what the fuck gave you that idea? Yeah. I can't stand your ass. What the fuck are you talking about?
That's pretty good. But it reminds me of recently on Facebook they had the trailer for the new Pinocchio movie. It's coming out in like a week or so, and it's a live action remake. Tom Hanks is playing Geppetto. It looks pretty good, but it also looks like it's a line by line, shot by shot remake.
Totally unnecessary remake.
Completely unnecessary, but okay, whatever. Somebody commented they destroyed the original. And I was like, you mean they burned the cartoon? Did they go to everybody's house and ask for the videotapes of it so they could destroy? Like, are they saying that the original no longer exists? I don't understand. That was like when Bionic Dance freaked out that there's going to be a black Little Mermaid. And it's just like, my childhood has been raped.
Well, the thing I think is hilarious about both of those things is like there's about the original. Well, the original Pinocchio was written in 1883 by a guy named Carlo Collodi, and the Little Mermaid comes from Hans Christian Andersen.
Yeah. So but I mean, even if they're referring to what they consider the original, which is like from their childhood or whatever it is, right? It still exists.
Right.
Like it isn't being flushed down the toilet or burned or they aren't removing the colors from the cartoon so you can't watch it anymore. I mean, they still exist.
Well, and look, I get that someone could take the source material and do something insulting with it. Like my perfect example is Land of the Lost. I loved the original TV show, and I felt that, and I loved Will Ferrell up until that movie. But that movie was fucking insulting because it wasn't a loving send-up of Land of the Lost. It was like an attack.
But Land of the Lost was awful.
Yeah, the movie was terrible.
I liked it when I was a kid. The TV show, I liked it when I was a kid.
Yeah.
If you watch it now, it's awful.
I still love it. But
there are kids that love the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers that are going to look back someday and be like, "Oh my god, that was awful."
Well, the thing is, though, again, I didn't care like if it's like, okay, if they didn't do it exactly the way I wanted, that doesn't matter to me. But the fact that, again, it was a parody of the original. It wasn't like okay, my favorite example is Galaxy Quest. Galaxy Quest it does parody Star Trek to a degree, but it's a loving send up. The people who made Galaxy Quest love Star Trek, so they were pointing out the silly things about it, but at the end of the day they love Star Trek. But that fucking horrible Land of the Lost movie was insulting. And so I stopped liking Will Ferrell because of that movie.
Oh, wait, holy shit. It's 1:00 in the morning, and we've been broadcasting for forever. And I finally now just remembered one of the things I wanted to talk to you about last week when I wanted to have the show.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Did you catch up on the Orville?
Yes, we finished watching the season, yes.
So, did they do a good job redeeming Clyden in your eyes?
Yes, because I know when you saw Way to Go Clyden, I'm like, what happened? Yeah. What happened? What did I miss? No, yeah, and that's the thing, and I think they did it in a very realistic way. It wasn't just like and now everything's better. It was like I hurt you, and I was angry with you, but I was really angry at myself, and I know it's gonna take a while for you to trust me, but I'm willing to learn, and I'm willing to change, because that's how change really works, right? It's a process.
So I was looking forward to it, to Strange New Worlds. I was looking forward to it. I was couldn't wait, couldn't wait, couldn't wait, couldn't wait. This was going to be the Star Trek show, like to end Star Trek shows, and turned out the Orville was.
Right, right.
Now, it's not to take anything from Strange New Worlds. Strange New Worlds is fan fucking tastic. I am so happy with it. Um, it's thrilling for a Trek fan. It is thrilling to have a Trek show on that is, in my opinion, worthy of the moniker, because it's been a while. Um, I mean, I do all of the series. They all have their positive points. Some of them have more negative points than positive points, in my opinion. But Strange New Worlds just like nailed the original formula all over again. There's one episode that I saw you posted on Facebook that you didn't like, which I found confusing, only because they used the trope that you said was what the show should do, um, and it was where they did old fashioned kind of the searching using just like the radar and stuff, where it was like trickery. They didn't just shoot their way out.
Yeah.
It's like I think the second to the last episode. I think.
Well, that was the one that was basically like the remake of Balance of Terror.
Yes. Yeah.
And see, what I didn't like about it was I felt that the people who made Strange New Worlds don't understand the Kirk character at all. They made him out to be a lot more aggressive and definitely having kind of a warlike streak that the character doesn't really have. If you actually watch the original series, he doesn't have. It's been the trope that he was that way, but he really wasn't.
Well, I mean, he didn't look for it, but he wasn't afraid to use his fist, and that was that's very much Kirk. But and yes, when they announced who Kirk was going to be, I know him from other things that he has been in. He was in the Vampire Diaries, and I liked him as an actor, and I thought, oh, they did good. I'm happy with this pick. After that episode, I was a lot less happy with the pick.
Yeah, I don't.
Confuse.
Hey Vegas, yeah, I don't think that he captured Kirk at all. So that's really, I think that. Yeah, I think the way they resolved things was good, and again, there was tactics and strategy and stuff like that. I thought again that was good. It was like so to me it was just a letdown because again, I partly the way they treated Kirk, or the way the Kirk character acted, but also
they did use a lot of the strategy that you talked about in the past about how that's what Trek should be, and they went down that road. So I was a little confused when you were like, didn't like it.
Yeah, well, I think that part was good. That part of the episode was good that they did do those things. But so and the other thing too is it basically kind of was like almost the idea of like, well, being contemplative was bad, and they again because again I don't think that's what they think that's something they missed because if you watch the Balance of Terror, Kirk didn't want to destroy that Romulan ship.
Right.
Spock was actually the one like, no, Captain, you gotta kill those motherfuckers.
Right. Right. It would be the logical move.
Right.
And Kirk's argument basically at the end was sometimes not doing the logical thing and doing the human thing is what wins the day.
Right, he literally says that. Sometimes because he wanted to show that Romulan commander mercy, and he's like, and then the guy's like, no, like this is our way. This is what I have to do.
Okay, so I'm sorry, Joe, not to cut you off, but I want everyone to be aware of this, that CRB Vegas is going to use this stream as his falling asleep stream. So he asked that we use our soft and soothing voices. So I want all of us,
we'll turn it to NPR.
So I want all of us, whether you're in the stream or just watching, so for the rest of the night, to only speak in soft, soothing
tonight
voices.
On the Raven's Nest. Fall asleep gently.
I'm going to do my best to
I said something in the private chat.
Oh, you did? I'll have to check. So yes, I'm sorry.
Yep.
It is something I will need to get used to. Oh, Vegas, 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 Vegas. So let me ask you a question. Um,
Yeah, is the question I asked?
yeah. I asked you earlier about a name, and you told me what you were leaning towards. Is it okay if I use that or no? Because I would like to know if it would be appropriate for me to use that or not. Because I would love to. I got to be honest with you. I'm actually excited about doing it. So, did she leave?
I don't know. Vegas, Vegas, Vegas.
And also Vegas, I wanted to. It's okay. Okay. So I'm going to say it out loud then. So if you hear me, if anybody hears me talk about autumn, that's Vegas.
Hi, Otto. Nice to meet you again.
Nice to meet you again, Autumn. I'm so happy. Oh my god. I might like when I go off the air, I might cry.
Aw.
I'm so happy. Ah, okay. So you'll get a kick out of this, Autumn. I screamed at a trumper. Just saying, a Canadian trumper. Go figure. It's a fucking crazy world. I'm telling you.
Right?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Canadian trumpers. Canadians that want to be American. And there's so many Americans that want to win.
Well, the funny thing is, I mean,
Mhm.
I've met Canadians that they have kind of a reverence, for America for one reason or another, but like I've never met one that was like a Trumper. I'm like, oh God, why? If like, why that?
I don't get it.
Yeah, I
Purple
used to work. I used to work
place
for a Canadian
Canadian.
company, and the guy that I worked for, he was like, there's some Canadians that they like America, but they're down on Canada. And this guy I worked for, his name was Colin, and all the time it was always about what America could do, what Canada couldn't do. I'm like, dude, man, have some pride in your country, man. You guys have done good stuff too.
Huh? Yeah, that's pretty weird. It's pretty weird. It's pretty weird. I don't know. There was a dude in here who basically was they were talking about monkeypox, and they were saying that just pointing out how everybody who has monkeypox is a gay man, and saying so you don't see bi men or women with monkeypox, which just is absolutely untrue. But he said it multiple times, and then somebody else in the chat said that kids and dogs have gotten it, and that same person said, yeah, because of pedo shit. So it's like he basically said gay men were pedos.
Right.
Uh, he didn't say it in the same sentence, but
It
when
was
you take,
implied.
when you take those two comments together from the same person, he said gay men are pedos. So I went off on him. And he was like, "Oh, I didn't say that," and blah 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 blah. And you're putting words in my mouth, and whatever. And you know what, motherfucker, I wouldn't put nothing in your mouth, okay?
Oh, you just reminded me. A friend of mine, I saw this years ago, and I've seen it many times. But a friend of mine sent it back to me, which is kind of funny. You ever heard of Flula Borg?
Yes.
Flula did this one. It was about suck my dick, and it's like, you wait. So he's like, no, this makes no sense. He says, you're gonna take your most valuable sensitive position in your body and put it in a hole of you that has many objects for crunching and destruction. We are not friends. We have
Think about that, right? Right? You tell somebody that you're really angry at, or you might possibly hate, to put their teeth near your junk. How does that make sense?
It makes no sense at all.
Yeah. Yeah, you're a piece of shit. You should put my penis in your mouth. No, why? No. Stop.
Yeah, I'll find the video. You can and put it in the private chat. You can put it in the grid. Everyone should watch Fool of Borg because he's fucking hilarious.
Right, Alpha? Makes no sense. Makes no sense.
There we go. Your
And
video called "Suck My Dick is Not Good for Saying." There you go.
No, think about it.
But you can pop that in the chat.
okay, so there you go, Joe.
Oh, thanks, Autumn.
Okay, there it is, private chat. All right. Copy.
And I'm glad that Autumn that you were able to take the step that you have now taken, because I know that was hard. I know it wasn't easy.
Oh my god. You know what, Autumn? Through the year, I've known you about a year, right? Maybe a little bit more. That I've known you, we have had some disagreements.
Put
So,
put put very, very nicely.
everybody knows how I am. But I will tell you this: there was actually a couple of times in the past year where I didn't really take you seriously, and I did not think that you were really going through what you said you were going through. There was plenty of reason I thought to be skeptical. The night we spoke on Messenger for hours and hours and hours when you were drunk changed my mind. Because I wanted to be, 100%, honest about all of that. But since then, and watching what you've gone through in your personal life with your family and everything else, my heart has been breaking for you. And all I have wanted was for you to be in a better place with the transition and everything. And I promised at the beginning I wouldn't out you and I wouldn't discuss it. And even though there were many times I was dying to talk to somebody about it, just to get a better sense of who you are and where you're going, or to understand some of the things that you talked about and blah, 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 blah. I didn't, because I made a promise. And I am so happy that you are on the path that you're on. You're going in the direction that you're going, and you seem to be jumping those hurdles as best you can, and it makes my heart happy. So some of the stuff that you're going through, believe me, I know. I'm right there with you, sister. I dealt with them myself.
And it's not something obviously that I have any context with, but I'm definitely on your side and definitely want you to feel safe, and know that you have some place to go, to someone to talk to, and that supports you, because again, knowing at least peripherally some of the stuff that you've gone through, that's some heavy stuff. So whatever arguments and disagreements we had in the past is the past. We may have, and now we'll have all new ones. But good for you, Autumn.
And I mean, if you decide that Autumn is going, that's where you're landing. That's you're going to be your chosen name. That's where you are. That's who you are. If you feel like it fits,
It's a nice name.
it's a nice name.
It is.
That's what I want to say. I want to say that it is. It's a very pretty name, and it's awesome.
Wow. The what is it? My one of the project engineers at one of my clients was named Autumn, and she was adorable. She was just so adorable, and she's like in her mid-20s, was getting married and everything. She was so sweet and so smart, and yeah, it's a very pretty name.
Oops, sorry. Yes, I like it. I like it. And then if you decide it doesn't fit, it doesn't fit. I mean, like, I'm in a trans support group, and there was a girl in there going on and on and on about her name, not knowing what to do. Her name is Adam, and she's asking people what she should do, and people were actually giving her advice, and I'm thinking, to me that's silly.
Mm.
uh, I instead of giving advice, I wrote down what I did. I typed, what I did, and I said that, my birth name was, Robert James, and my new name, my chosen name, is Raven July, intentionally misspelt in order to utilize the letters from my children's names. And I said that way I could honor all four of my kids. Yes, I have four children. Four.
Yeah, I thought.
All four of my I can honor all four of my children by naming myself after them.
No wonder you say you're a busy full-time stay-at-home parent. I didn't realize you had 4.
Yeah, well, two of them are grown.
Okay.
They're grown. But yeah, I have 4 kids, and I'm a stay-at-home mom. But I mean, I named myself after my kids to honor my children, and I also kept my initials of my birth name, and that was to honor the name that my parents gave me. Um, and the name Raven July ticked all the boxes for me. That it wasn't a thing of, is it pretty, or is it, will it roll off the tongue? None of that stuff really mattered. What mattered was, was it representative? Did I feel like it was representative of me and my life? And it is. And it felt a little funny and weird at first, but eventually became like another skin. People say Raven, I look. Because that's who I am. So
I was an early adopter.
yes, yeah. I did slip, and I will slip with you, Vegas.
Oh yeah, well that's the thing. I mean, and then, to go with some fat guy, like I've known Raven literally for like 12 years. It took. I didn't slip too many times, but there were a few times because you're used to calling somebody something for a
Yeah,
decade or more, and then you got to like, oh no, and so it's it's more of a, you have to recondition yourself because you've conditioned to, you know, not even how you view them, but just simply what you call them. Well, there's Together for Peace. Used
yeah.
to, used to,
Used to be
it used to be named
Jack.
Jack. It's not named Jack anymore.
Right.
And even after
He goes by Apollos.
Apollos, he's been Apollos for. I've known him as Apollos for way longer than I ever knew him as Jack. But they're still in my head.
Right.
I have to consciously not call him.
So, so since I started appearing and being on the panel for the goddamn podcast, there are people in the chat here that know me and knew me as Dev Shell and have known me for years as Dev Shell, and as Rob. But there are other people who never saw me before, and one of them is the celebrity juicer. I have no idea what that person looks like. I have no idea how they represent, how to identify. I don't know anything about them other than they make videos, and their screen name. And I love them to death because they're always like posting, "Oh, Raven, you're beautiful," and hearts and stars and flowers, and I like any girl. I eat that shit up. But anyway, so the difference between the celebrity juicer and some other people is he doesn't have the past to cloud his vision.
Right.
There are people who knew me before transition that no matter what I look like now, no matter what surgeries I do or do not have, no matter how I dress them, none of that matters because they will always see Rob underneath.
Mm.
Rob will always be there for some
Right,
people,
right.
no matter what I do. But for some people who never knew Rob, they don't have that clouding their vision.
Mm.
So they can see me as Raven, and their perception of what I look like is different for them because it isn't tainted.
Right. Right.
And that's wild to see the difference between people who knew me before and people who know me now, just at the way they interact with me and the way they talk to me.
Mm.
It's pretty cool.
Oh yeah. Well, like I said, you have you when you know somebody for a long time, you build up a certain an engram of what they are, who they are, and how they are, and everything. And then then they say, well, not exactly, and then you go, oh, okay. But see, for me, like I said, accepting who you were was very easy. I was like, oh, you're cool. Well, plus, I mean, yeah, I've known
Right.
because it was like it was one of those things. It was like sometimes something's a surprise, but it's not really a surprise. Like when you think about it, you go, yeah, yeah, okay, that makes sense. But
I've had these for 17 years.
right, right,
I mean, they weren't always, they weren't always this amazing and awesome. But I've had them for 17
right,
years.
right. Ever since I've known, longer than I've known you.
Yeah, you know. Um, but
But well, it's like my friend Orlando from high school. Like somehow I did not get when we were in high school that he was gay. Just didn't. mm, in fact, to the point of our mutual friend Maria, who's literally my oldest friend. We were friends since we were 3. I never asked her out in high school because I thought, she was with Orlando all the time, and I thought they were a couple. So then, when I run, years later on Facebook, I reconnect with Orlando and see that he's gay. And my first thing was like, at first I was surprised, and I stopped and looked back. I was like, oh yeah, okay, yeah. Yeah, yeah, okay, I get it now. I don't know how I didn't see it, but
I don't need people telling me that I'm beautiful um to validate myself. I don't need the external praise and stuff for validation. But I will say that it does help with the journey. It's like what I'm doing is working. The person I want to be, is coming through. The person that I was always was inside is shining through, and that that gives me a lot of motivation to continue.
well, I mean, look, we're a social species, right? I mean, no matter how independent, no matter how introverted, whatever anybody is, validation feels good. I mean, it just fucking feels good. Um, like I don't have to be validated to live my life, but damn it, it sure feels nice when it happens.
Oh, oh. Let me. Oh, I gotta say this. I gotta say this. Any of the women that are watching might be like, "Fuck yeah, you're right." Okay, so I lived as a gay man for years and years and years. Um, I had a boyfriend. I was with him for 9 years and loved him to death, even though he was, at the end of the day, he was a piece of shit. But I always had this feeling that gay men were worse to each other than straight men are to women.
Really?
And I tell you now that I have transitioned, I was wrong.
Mm.
Straight men, and I love men. I am primarily, I have a girlfriend that I've been with for over a decade, but I am primarily attracted to men. I like men. Anyway, I do. I mean, I may not be strictly dickly, but anyway, anyway, um, straight men never interacted with me as a woman until recently, and oh my god, the way the way men treat and talk to women that they aren't romantically connected to is really fucking disgusting.
Mm.
It's so ugly, and if you're not on the receiving end of it, you don't see it.
Right.
They are like in like the gay world, there's like the top and the bottom and dom and sub and all that kind of stuff. And like, if you're a bottom, if you're like a total bottom, and you're with somebody or talking to men that are either versatile or tops, um, there was always in the gay community this feeling that it's similar to a man and woman relationship, and that's how I always saw it until I transitioned. And straight men are fucking pigs. They are terrible. They are awful. They are self-centered. Gay men can be bad, but not as bad as straight men.
Well, I learned that I used to go to go-go bars a lot when I was young, and I got to make friends with dancers, dated a few, and so I bounced a lot of bachelor parties, and just between being in the bars and being at the bachelor parties and seeing the way the men would treat women, like it was always horrible, and especially like younger guys too. Like I remember like these guys would show up in the bar, and they talk down to the women. They talk about them. They treat them like they were trash. You know, oh, she's a whore, she's a slut, blah blah blah. And then the worst of it is, then these guys thought that these women would want to go home with them.
Yeah.
Not for money, like for they were going to go home and bang these guys for free.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, after
something's wrong with you. You just treated her like she's garbage. Plus, here's the thing I never understood about guys that did that. If you think she's so wretched, right, that she's some horrible harlot, slut, whatever, and she's dirty, she's soiled, why would you want to put your dick in her?
Right. It doesn't make any sense. So, like,
I mean, me, if I think you're a wretched creature, I ain't putting my dick near you.
Well, why would you? Right. That's logic. It's ridiculous. Like, okay, like here's like stupid shit, right? Stupid shit. This is how fucked up straight men are. And I like men. It sucks. Anyway, okay, so here's the thing. When I was living as a gay man, dealing with gay men, if I got a message on Messenger from a guy who, for whatever reason, wanted to talk to me or see me or whatever immediately, and I didn't answer, maybe an hour would go by, or maybe even a full day or whatever, and they would just walk away, or they would block me and move on. And I would go and like, oh, look, a conversation. Oh, crap, I'm blocked. Well, what an asshole that person is. Oh, well, and I move on. Straight men don't do that. If they want to talk to you immediately and you don't answer right away, give it about an hour, and all of a sudden you're a slut and you're a bitch, you're a whore, you're ugly. Why would anybody want to talk to you anyway? And it's just like, I was asleep.
Oh yeah, I mean, straight guys as a group, we're very fragile.
Oh my god. Obviously, right? Like, as a demographic, right? Straight men are fragile. There are obviously many that are not, but I mean, just in general, as a group, yeah, very fragile. Oh my god. Seriously, don't answer a message fast enough, and you're the biggest piece of shit on the planet. What?
Pretty messed up.
Fuck. And I mean, I thought gay men were bad when it came to sending dick pics. I get dick pics all the time now. All the
I never
time.
understood that shit.
And it's just like that
It's
looked
very-
like every other one that I saw today. I mean,
well, I was obviously it's being, it's to be aggressive, it's to be out there, and it's threatening too.
it's all so crazy.
Well, especially here's the thing. Now, I don't like men. I pretty much fucking hate
Smell.
most men. And I mean, I always find it amazing that anybody, whether it's a gay man or a straight woman or a bisexual, anybody, like anybody can look at it, man. Like I remember, like Andrew Dice Clay had that homophobic joke, like how could anyone look at a man's hairy ass? I don't know anyone, straight, gay or straight, can look at a man and be like, yeah, I want that. Like I think men are disgusting. I think penises are like ugly, and and I have, but so that's why I'm always amazing to me. So
Part of a man.
I'm always like, wow, there's people out there that actually would, that are okay with it. Cool. You're a wonderful person then.
Well, here's the thing, and I mean, I was not a very popular gay person because I have certain ideas that might be considered homophobic, I guess. Like, okay, so even though I was living as a man, I was presenting as a man, I was identifying as a man, I did not like men who were bottoms or were versatile. I would hook up with guys and like the guy would like bend over and I'm done. I'm gone. Nope. Sorry, I'm putting my clothes on. I would be like, I don't want to sleep with a woman. I want to sleep with a man. And if you're getting fucked, you're not a man. And
Oh, gee.
yeah, I know, and I know it's fucked up, but it's still a thought that rattles around inside my head. I can't. It's not something I can just say. Oh, I don't believe that. No, the thought is there and it rattles around, and the louder it rattles, the more it bothers me. So when I see a guy grabbing his ankles, I'm not attracted to that at all.
Well, you just made me think of, even though it's a totally different context. Um, there, before Louis C.K., before everything happened with him, he had this one sketch. Yeah, it was of course, but maybe. He's like, I have these ideas, I don't believe them, but they are there. you know. And,
Yes, that's right.
yeah, and one of the ones, my favorite ones, he's like, of course we should protect people, people from who have deadly peanut allergies. He has a nephew who has that, and and if anything happened to him, he'd be devastated. But maybe if we just look away for a year, we're done with peanut allergies.
Wow. Oh shit.
Yeah. Or one of the other ones was of course, slavery is the worst thing that's ever happened. And, anytime it's ever happened. But maybe everything the humans have ever accomplished was done with through exploitation and slavery. There are well, and that's the thing. There are things I've had. I look back now at things I used to think that I definitely say, oh, that was bigoted or that was sexist or whatever. But even if there's still some things. For instance, there's some things that I know that I don't say, but I know some of our mutual friends would actually say, oh, that's ableist, and I'm like, I don't know about that.
Yep.
But they would say that, and I'm like, well, maybe they're right, but I don't know, but I still feel it. And,
Right. I get some of that too. Is mutual friends actually that'll post some stuff, and they're like, "Yeah, that's There was a actually very well known mutual friend who did that just yesterday. Very, very, very well known mutual friend, and I didn't want to say anything partly because of how well she is known, and I was like, I don't agree with this. That's not ableist at all.
TH.
Yeah.
I figured. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like, whatever. She's entitled to her opinion.
Right.
It is what it is. But like with me, with like the example I was talking about, the heart wants what the heart wants. What you think is sexy is what you think is sexy.
Right.
And like when it comes to men, if they're grabbing their ankles, I don't think that's sexy, and I lose interest. Is it based on nonsense? It is. It really is. But I can't help that.
Right.
You can help what you like. I mean, it is what it is.
Right. Exactly. Well, it's like, and it's you can kind of say it's similar to when men will say it isn't bigoted if I say I'm not interested in trans women because you like what you like, and I'm like, I only agree with that to a point. Like if you say, Raven J, right? It's a trans woman. I don't find her attractive. I would never want to date her. Fair. If you say I would never date a trans woman, period, because I will never find one attractive, well, that's bigoted. Because you've never met every trans woman. And there's no way you could possibly know that you would never meet a trans woman and you would go, wow, look at her.
Well, here's a question for you, though. What would you say if someone said they found some trans women attractive, but they still wouldn't date them necessarily, or they might consider it, but they might not because of the plumbing?
Are they post-op? What's the plumbing problem then? Modern medicine has taken care of that. If it's a matter of birthing a baby, that's different. And like I would never I would never marry a trans woman because I would want to have a biological child between me and my partner. Number one, that's selfish. Number two, there are plenty of kids out there to adopt that are readily and that need.
Absolutely. That's
So
completely how I see it.
but even though those two things are true, but if you still insist to be selfish, and that's only, I'll give you that. I've got biological children. Who am I? Who am I to say to somebody else that their desire to have a biological child is unreasonable?
Right.
It's selfish, yeah. Um, but okay, that's fair. But to say I would never date a trans woman because I just couldn't find one attractive, that's bullshit. That's bigoted. Um, that doesn't mean like the right wing will say, "Oh, see, the left wants to force people to date trans women." No, nobody ever said that. Um, I don't need, I don't need help attracting men. Believe me, I really don't. And that's not, bragging or patting myself on the back. But I tell you what, if I wanted to, there are a lot of marriages in my town I could break up. Just saying. So, yeah.
Oh, see, that's the mistake you made, Autumn, is listening to Ben Shapiro. See, this is the one thing I said this to somebody, within the last few days. I just don't remember who it was. I said that one of the problems that liberals have is that the stuff that we believe is not always intuitive. It may be correct, but it's not always intuitive. Whereas right wing thinking, there we go, I can speak, very often is visceral. It's intuitive. It may be wrong, but it's visceral. And that appeals to that lizard brain that all of us have. Every one of us, no matter how liberal we are, we all got that lizard brain in there. Mm-hmm. And so they'll say things like, so that's where like nativism, right? The whole idea that somehow the people that exist in this, arbitrary lines that are somehow a superior people and culture to the people that live outside that arbitrary box, which of course is bullshit. Yeah. But the thing is that of course we are kind of programmed genetically to care more and more about the people that are the most like us, the closer to us. So it's visceral. So it appeals because it feels right, even if it's wrong. So you can come up with simplistic sayings, and and it works. Whereas I remember when the whole thing about defund the police and people are like, oh, it's a terrible slogan, blah blah blah. I'm like, well, give me one that's better. And it ended up being some like long-winded sentence. I'm like, that's not a fucking slogan. That's not how slogans work.
That's a definition.
Yeah, it's a definition, right? You're not going to, people will be snoring halfway through that long-winded, explanation.
And now you've lost the argument.
You lost the argument. And because so that was one, and that was one of the reasons why Bernie, to the people that he resonated with, the reason why Bernie resonated, because he knew that, and he said, so he's like the 1%. And there were some people that were like, well, actually, it's like the 1/10 of them. But fuck you, 1% works. Everyone understands it. No one likes fractions or decimals. Shut the fuck up. 1% works. Like, let's stick with it.
So I wanted to like bounce off of something that Alpha K91 was talking about hormones screwing up a woman's judgment in her experience. And my first reading of that, and actually I went further and read the other comments, and it made more sense. But my first reading of that was, that's an odd thing for a woman to say. But going on, it makes it very difficult to establish pure or impure intentions in a relationship. And I can actually see that, yes. Yes. And then, Jimmy Jones has gone on to say our instincts are basically working against our rational self-interest. And yes. And that's part of like the hard part of the human condition, right? We have this biological animal needs and drives that ensures our survival, It ensures, that we have offspring and blah, 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 blah. And that whole system works in a completely different way that our social evolution does and our brains. So we it's why does sex feel good? Like most animals don't have the same kind of enjoyable sex that like dolphins and people have. And why is that? Because we're smart enough to think ourselves out of reproducing. So it has to feel so good that it turns the brain off.
Or you can get fixed. I got fixed. No kids.
Right? Right. But that's using technology to do it, right?
Mhm.
So that's the thing. If we want to be able to reproduce, it has to feel good. Otherwise, we would be disgusted by the act. Because when you think about it, sex is pretty disgusting.
Oh yeah, but oh my God, does it feel good? Oh man,
Exactly.
What about what is it? The Black Widow spider kills its partner after they mate. Imagine it feels that good.
It's kind of like, like this one being says, I am gonna take the sticky, slimy part of my body and stick it inside of your sticky, slimy part of your body.
It's
And I'm
fucking
going
disgusting.
to inject my invasive
On top of all fucking sweaty and gross.
into your body.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like my dick is going to vomit into your body. Who the fuck wants that? So the only way to ensure reproduction is to make that disgusting act desirable.
Yep.
Yeah.
Hormones.
My body's going to puke inside of your body. Oh, fuck yes, baby.
You need to teach a sex ed class in school, Raven.
As TJ would say, oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, you definitely need to talk to kids, tell them this, so they don't get knocked up at 15.
I just want to respond to Alpha. You're totally right about the double standard, Alpha. That if a man has many sexual partners, he's a hero. He's a stud. If a woman has many sexual partners, she's a dirty slut, right? She's a whore and a slut. Again, which never made any sense to me. I'll tell you right now. I never understood the idea of being looking down on women who had lots of sex, because I'll tell you what, they have fewer hangups. They're more willing to try way more things than someone who's on the virginal side of things, and they're better at it. And so that's why I never understood this idea these guys want to be with a virgin. Ew.
Yeah, you 72 of them apparently.
I'm not conquering territory. I'm not planting a flag.
So my ex-boyfriend once described it this way, and I know you guys have heard this before, but a key that opens many locks is a master key. A lock that can be opened by any key is a piece of shit.
God.
Especially if you look at it from what you just said of what the actual physical act of sex is. And that person's had that done to them many times by different people. If you look at it that way.
See, this is the fun part of the chat. This should have been what it was like when Neba Liba and Stephen James were here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. What the thing is, but I don't want a lot. Well, also here's the other thing too. So if a woman doesn't come across, she's a bitch. But then if she does, she's a slut. Like, well, what is it? I would much rather the women that are more generous with themselves. God bless them. I don't even believe in God. I'll believe in one if it works.
So it's in the Raven J chat is a YouTuber named the Redneck Atheist, who has been a very, 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 very long time follower of mine. I remember Redneck Atheist being in the chat when I used to show my tits when they were small, and he was a fan of the tits then. Hey, Redneck, what do you think now?
Well, again, we're talking about double standards. So when you were showing your male tits,
oh yeah,
everything was fine. But if you do
Everything
that now, ooh.
So I had posted about 2 years ago. I had posted a topless picture on Facebook, and they took it down. And whatchamacallit, I told them I disagreed. I protested it or whatever it was. And anyway, I said you can't take this down. It doesn't violate your community standards because I'm a man.
Just
And
use Twitter. They don't care.
And they put it back up and apologized. And I had full on tits. But because I said I was a man, well, that makes it okay. They put the picture back up. So
That's interesting.
there's your double standard. So nice jigglies. They actually do jiggle now. They didn't do that before. They're big enough now that they jiggle. I like it.
So one thing I'm proud to say, I actually talked to my wife about this earlier today, that I've never been the type, the guys that want the so-called, the dumb blondes. As much of a horn dog as I was at the time when I was in college, and I was talking to this young woman at a college party, and everything's going well. And then she's like, "Oh, what are you going to school for?" And I said, "Oh, I go to engineering school." And she said, totally seriously, "You have to go to school for that? To drive the train?"
Oh yeah, dude, I used to get that so much as a Marine engineer.
Yeah. So you know, and I'm like, as much of a horn dog as I was like, no. No.
There are men. There are. Here's the thing. Okay, so, oh boy, I'm going to admit this out loud. I have had a lot of fun with certain types of guys since transitioning. I was talking before about how horrible guys are, and I know that because I do engage with them, and I will talk with them, and I will chat with them, and I will play the role. I would do the the dumb blonde, although ginger. I would do it. I would do it. And there are guys out there that once they think that you're a little dopey, that's it. They're all over you. They are, and it becomes a, don't worry, sweetheart. You don't have to think. You don't have to think. Just let me do the thinking.
Yeah.
You just look pretty. These guys exist. It is very, very real. And it's just like, holy shit. But I've done it. Just misspell a couple of words, or say you don't understand something that is, usually politics, right? If I was chatting with somebody, just kind of flirting, just to be flirty, and that's something else I'll do. And I'm not sure of their political persuasions, I will wait until they say something, and then I would say, "Well, I don't even know what to understand what you're talking about. I don't follow politics." Obviously, a blatant lie, but I mean, and the attitude just becomes very well. Don't worry about it, sweetheart. Don't worry about it. So.
Yeah, yeah, see, that's the thing. Like for me, like I'm an intelligent guy. I don't suffer fools well, and I find like people that are kind of dopey just to be like tedious and boring, and I can't stand to be around them.
I knew you were going to use the word tedious. Well, that's exactly what it is, though.
Yeah, and so I never understood a guy like. And again, what does that come from? In my opinion, guys that are insecure, right? Because of course that that ditzy woman, and again, let me do the thinking so I'm in charge and I'm in control, and I don't need that shit. I want give me a smart woman that's going to challenge me.
I'll flirt with those guys. I'll flirt with them all fucking night. I don't care. I'll flirt with them. I don't think I would ever meet one. It's a little scary for somebody to be that willing to be in charge or to be in control, and to very easily just dismiss the fact that you have a brain at all, and be just that's scary.
Yeah,
and there are just women that deal with that and have dealt with it all their lives. I mean, I've only transitioned, outwardly representing and identifying. It's only been like a year. Um, so I don't have the real world, real life experience that a lot of women have, and that's my reality, right? Um, I don't have a lifetime of that. I have a year, and I know what I've seen in a year, and that's scary shit. To have to deal with that at 14, 15 years old. Um,
Well, again, for because obviously empathy is important, but if unfortunately empathy has a limit, right? Because we can only empathize with people if we have some way to bridge their experiences to our own.
right, right,
So one thing, it was a bad thing that happened to me, but I'm glad it happened to me because it gave me some perspective. And I'm pretty sure I've told you this, but I don't think the audience has heard it. Um, Once, a gay man was harassing me online. And what happens is a friend of mine, my friend Orlando. Orlando got married, and I was like, "Oh yay!" To a man, and I'm like, "Hey, great wife, I love you both." And then so this person, and then so I said that, and then their friend messaged me and said, "Well, I hope you don't have a problem with us gay people." And I'm thinking, well, that's odd. I just made some like fanatically pro-gay statements, but whatever. I'm like, no, I'm cool with gay people. Hey, you're people, and I love you, and be great. And then he starts talking more about hey how he likes straight boys and he likes having sex with straight boys and turning straight boys out and all this kind of stuff. And then I'm like, oh, that's nice, But and then he starts telling me about how he's touching himself and all this kind of shit. And I'm just like, yeah, it's cool, but I'm not really into that. And he kept pushing it and kept pushing it. And now again, I feel to this day that he was testing me, that he wanted to see if I was going to pop off and say something homophobic. But maybe not. Maybe he's just a creep. So the next day I go into work, and as you know, the True Puka's wife, True Puka works for me, and so does his
right.
wife. So I went to her and I said, and I relayed the story, and I said, "Is this the kind of thing that when women are talking about being harassed, is this the kind of thing that you experience?" And she's like, "Practically every day."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh my god! Like, how are women just not going around like killing every man in sight?" Like,
And that brings us back to She-Hulk.
right, right, exactly. And that's why when she said that, that's why I don't get threatened by what she said, because I'm like, I experienced a taste of that for 5 fucking minutes.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm gonna kill the next motherfucker that says anything to me, right?
My experience with the cops in Patterson.
Yeah.
They saw a white guy and they harassed me. And walking away, I said, I can't believe that these motherfuckers just did that to me because of the color of my skin.
Right.
And it was just like, and I was surrounded by Black and Puerto Rican people looking at me like,
"Hello, yeah, that's every day for us, exactly." And I was like, so I just getting that little taste, it gave me an appreciation for what women go through. Again, and it's just a taste, right? It was just one time.
right.
But so, and that's the thing. So I was even trying to understand, like, pathologically, like, if I had to deal with that on a regular basis, how could I survive? How could I not just pop off and start stabbing motherfuckers? Yeah.
I tell you, for 50 years, well, okay, I didn't walk for the entire 50. So about 49 years, I walked through the world without fear of certain things. I could walk through the parking lot at the grocery store and not worry about somebody pushing me up against my car and putting their hands on me.
Right.
That is now a fear that I have of something being that could happen, because in the past year it has happened.
Right.
It had only been a few months after I came out that I was sexually assaulted. And it was just like, and that's me looking not even like this yet. If that happened to me, every cisgender woman that I know has had to deal with that to some degree all their lives.
Right.
Yeah. It does put shit into perspective. And it made me realize very quickly that not only did I change, but everything about the world around me changed at the exact same moment that I did. I changed the way I present myself to the world, and the world changed in response.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Overnight.
And
You know,
and it's scary. It's
yeah,
scary.
hell yeah. I mean, I'd be scared too. I mean, shit. You know, and then also what the other thing it will did for me after having an experience too is I look back at things that I did and said how I behaved, and I go, oh, you know, and I start seeing things with that again with somebody else's eyes, and I realize, oh yeah, no, that wasn't cool. That those things I did and said, and that's why, like, you know, when guys, you know, they were, you know, there's even still now, even though Me Too really isn't a thing anymore. But you know, anytime there's any accusation, oh, Me Too, and they all have to freak out, and I start challenging all these guys. I'm like, yeah, anyone who's freaking out now, this is a confession. This is a confession. You're upset about somebody being accused of something because you did shit yourself.
Yeah.
You know, you did shit yourself, and you want this to die because you don't want there to be any accountability. And I get that. Like I said, I look back and I go, oh wow, you know, that was hard. I said and did some horrible shit. You know, I'm ashamed of. I wouldn't want that to come back at me, but it might. You know, who knows? But but the thing is that I actually wanted to make when it was contemporary. I wanted to make 2 videos. I wanted to make a Me Too video because I had my own experience that someone did to me, and then I wanted to make a video called You Too, saying like, yeah, think about and maybe you never touched anybody or whatever, but maybe you said things that kind of support this. Maybe you laughed about it. Maybe you made jokes about things that when you think about them are actually kind of messed up. Or maybe you encourage people to do and say things that are kind of messed up, that maybe you didn't directly hurt somebody, but maybe you indirectly caused it or supported the system that does that.
Right. I love this guy. So, the goddamn podcast. So here's the thing with the goddamn podcast and with TJ specifically. I have known TJ, and a lot of you guys don't know this. I have known TJ a very long time on the internet, longer than I've known Joe. And way back in the day, I did a impersonation video of TJ and my cap on and the aviators, and I tried to speak in the same kind of speaking rhythm that he does, and I made a video impersonating him, and it was fun. It was good fun. It was a long time ago. Anyway, we had always been on good terms. We had always been friends. When I did the charity event to raise money for HIV vaccine research, he was like immediately ready to go and helped raise some good money for a good cause. We talked about it on the show the other night, guys. If you were there, you saw that. He didn't use a very socially acceptable way to use his time and to raise money. He made really bad, tasteless jokes about HIV and AIDS. Upset some people, but he made he made money. He got a lot of donations, and I didn't care. I was like, yeah, no, it's all right. It's comedy. It was dark humor, but it was comedy because they were actual jokes. So,
well, and that's another good thing too. People pointing out dark humor. Again, it's you can it's how you construct a joke. It's how you construct it. You can like one of my favorite SNL sketches is The Most Evil Invention in the World.
Yes.
Now, it's a very dark topic, right? But it's not making fun of that. It's making fun of the tropes of what evil is, which are cartoonish and ridiculous. And it says, no, here's some shit that's really evil. And of course, even the so-called evil guys are like, somebody call the police, because that's like, oh wow, this is really evil shit, some evil shit.
So I mean, So there was that. That was a thing that happened, right? So I've known him for a long time. When I transitioned and when I came back to YouTube, no longer as DevShell but as Raven, TJ was immediate. I actually showed up in the chat. It was several months ago. I showed up in the chat. It was the first time I had been back to the show in a long time, and I had commented, "Hey everybody," and I would get arrows to my name, and my picture being now a girl's picture rather than a guy,
Was
and
this
now
recent?
several months ago.
Yeah,
And
that's
I
what I'm
was just
thinking.
like, and I was just like, hey, how's everybody doing? Um, I used to be known as DevShell, and he stopped. He stopped what he was talking about, and he immediately said, "Raven, thanks for showing up, and just want to tell you you're a beautiful person inside and out." And I was just like, and that was the first time I had spoken to him since transition, and I was just like, you learn who your friends are. And TJ was quick, very very quick to accept Raven, as if Raven had always been there. So
Well, she was. She was just like trapped inside.
she was trapped inside. And now, for those of you who watch the show, know he gets a kick, I think, out of trying to make me blush.
Yeah.
Yeah. You see, yeah. No, last night. When was that? The other night. The other night we were on, right? Goddamn podcast broadcast, and on the goddamn podcast, when TJ is on, setup of the screen is different, and you can only see me in a little square, and it's kind of basically just at the boobs and up. That's all you see. But on Discord, you see the full picture. So what the crowd can't see, what the chat can't see, TJ can see. So he's talking and I'm moving, and he saw my leg and has to stop the show to talk about my leg. And I don't know if you could tell or not, but I was blushing. I didn't want him to know that, and I'm just kind of like, whatever, okay, yeah. Son of a bitch. But he gets a kick out of that, and I love that. Not that I want him to make me blush. I just love the fact that to him, it's like, yeah, Raven's a girl that's on the show, and I can fuck with her. That's cool. That's acceptance, and that's a friend, and it's just like
Sure.
that's
Yeah.
fucking. I didn't get that kind of acceptance from the people immediately around me. Obviously, I'm not talking about Peach, obviously, but my family. So it's nice if I can get acceptance at home. It's nice to get it somewhere else. So that's all.
I was just watching one of while you were talking. I was just watching one of Alpha's videos.
So while I was talking, you nodded your head as if you were listening.
I was listening. You were talking. You were talking about how TJ was accepted you, and you went in the thing, and TJ said,
I fucking with you, Joe.
I am. It's funny because the studies will basically say that people can't really multitask. I think that's true for most people.
Right.
Some of us can.
Yeah. The things that you're multitasking you won't be as successful at them as you would be if you were focusing. But yeah, you can.
I've actually have a problem that I have a hard time with just doing one task at a time. I actually need multiple things to do. I'm actually way more efficient when I have multiple things, like especially if I'm doing something that's like tedious and drudgery. Oh God, I need some other stimulus. Otherwise, I can't do it.
That's why I listen to like podcasts and shit when I'm doing papers or any kind of, especially at university. Had to have a show on or something in the background.
Now I'm not as good as when I was younger because old brain, old embrittling brain. But when I was in high school, I literally would be doing homework, playing a computer game, watching TV, and listening to music, and keeping up with all of it.
Joe, do you know what that symbol is?
It looks like an egg going into space. I don't know.
So
Wheels.
a bunch of years ago, I created a religion,
How?
and that is the symbol for the religion. It's a turtle, but the turtle is named Duck.
Duck the turtle.
Duck the turtle is God. And Redneck Atheist. Thank you for that, Redneck. That's actually when it's Duck. Yes, I know it's Duck. All hail Duck.
I don't know how I didn't encounter that with all the time that we've known each other.
You never saw the video about the almighty mallard? No.
Yeah, the that's weird. Yeah, I don't know how that one thing. I mean, yeah, flying. You want to bring up flying lessons? I was there. Yeah, I remember all that.
So Duck was a turtle. It was a stuffed turtle, and Penny was evil. And there was Duck had his own commandments. And they were like, ridiculous. Like, thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's goods unless it's really cool shit that you think you should have. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's spouse unless they've got a bitch and bod. Duck is everywhere, but nowhere. He loves you, but he doesn't know you. That kind of yeah, he loves you unless he doesn't.
He loves you, but he's not in love with you.
Yeah, he loves you unless he doesn't. It's and then it was like one of them was beware the power of Billy. Only true believers know the real power and size of Billy. And Billy was like a 13-inch dildo. I used to broadcast on Blog TV with a big giant dildo with a suction cup on the wall behind me, just kind of dangling there. And people say, "What the fuck is that?" I'm like, "That's Billy." So
Vegas, hired her replacement and then demoted herself.
I don't understand that.
I don't know why you would do that.
Maybe she'll explain.
I guess if you just don't want that level of responsibility, I can understand that. Believe me, having run a business since 2009, I'm like, oh god, some days I just like,
Redneck Atheist, thank you very much for remembering Duck and bringing Duck up. So one thing I did in that video was I would show all these different pictures of turtles. We're actually the same turtle from different views. And I would on text on the screen, it was like duck, duck, duck. And then I would show a picture of a goose.
I get it.
It was fun. It was fun. It was fun. It's an old video. I made it on Windows Movie Maker. That's how old it is.
I miss Windows Movie Maker, and it's one of the reasons why I haven't made a video, even though I promised I would, because the other stuff I tried, I got something slightly better. And I recorded some audio, and I was trying to sync up the audio and I had some like photographs I was using, and every time I tried to move one thing, it would fuck everything else up. And I'm like, yeah, you know what? I don't have time for this shit, and I just stopped.
No one owns a lolcow, therefore everyone does. There's you. That's a good commandment. It's a lot of leave, paid and unpaid, will need to be taken.
It makes sense. Yeah, if you don't have time to be able to effectively do the job, yeah, it makes sense. I get that.
So recently, Joe, yeah, you commented on this on Facebook. So I have this friend that I was friends with when we were kids. Like I've known her since we were like 8. And she always had a crush on me, but never told me. She dated one of my friends when we were like in our early teens. A neighborhood kid basically, besmirched her honor And her boyfriend, my best friend at the time, did not stand up for her, but I did, and then ended up getting shot in the head over it.
Oh.
You ever see the BB guns? But it's not a BB; it's like a football shaped pellet.
Hmm.
It's an air rifle.
Yeah, the airsoft.
They use it to shoot to hunt raccoons and that kind of a stuff. It's I got shot with one of those, put me in the hospital um, for defending somebody else's girlfriend. Um, in our mid to late teens, she disappeared. I had no idea where she went. She just disappeared. I got married. My life moved on. Blah 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 blah. About 13 years ago, she showed up again. We went out. We went dancing. She kept trying to sleep with me, and I had to tell her, number one, I'm into men. Number two, I have HIV. So this isn't happening. But we went dancing. We hung out. She was around for a while, and then one day she was gone. She just disappeared. And about a month and a half ago, she showed up again. Bought a house in the next town over. It's like a 6-minute drive. She's right here. Started hanging out with her in her house, smoke a little pot, hanging out. Met her guy that she just met, who's I think is now her boyfriend. And everything was great. Went over there with Peach and the kids, had a barbecue. Everything was great, right? We joked about how we almost had sex several times in the time that we've known each other, and joked about our childhood and how her kids still remember me and blah 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 blah, whatever, all kinds of stuff. And now she's gone again. She didn't ghost me. She just disappears. The last time I saw her, wait, was it the last time? The last time I saw her, she knew I was coming to her house because she said stop by and blah 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 blah. When I got there, nobody answers the door, but I remember her telling me that she'll always leave the back door open for me. So I go in through the back door, and she comes walking down her steps in panties and a bra, and I'm like, "What are you doing? Get dressed." But that was the last time I saw her. It was a couple of weeks ago, and she's like, she vanished. So it's fucking weird. So anyway, that's my story. But yeah, Joe, that's what that was about on Facebook, and you said maybe they ghosted you. Yeah, no, they just disappeared. When she was 16, she ran away. She ran away to New York, and she ended up stripping. And she went from like doing strip clubs, and eventually she was doing burlesque shows. She's a dancer. She always wanted to be famous, and one of those heartbreaking tales, the girl who ended up taking her clothes off for money even though she wanted to be a star.
Right.
Yeah, one of those.
Well, I'm fading, and I think I need to put my old ass to bed.
Yeah, it's like 2 something. I find something to eat.
4-hour show though. That's respectable. And we did 2 hours on the other one.
Well, the other one was supposed to be a short show. At least that's what I was told.
Yeah.
So, Joe, do you like Nine Inch Nails?
Yes, and I just answered to the chat. So yes, I do like Nine Inch Nails. They're cool. Although, as much as I love the song "Hurt," the Johnny Cash version is better.
I agree.
I think even Al Jorgensen does. Or
Yeah.
Trent Reznor.
Trent Reznor,
Yeah.
What I'm trying to remember what his quote was. It's when Johnny Cash does your song, it's his song.
Right.
It's like, yeah, okay. Yeah. Autumn.
Well, Autumn, it's good to see that you're moving in the right direction for yourself, and
the left isn't all crazy people. Autumn.
Right. Just mostly exasperating people.
I'm crazy and exasperating, but I am not representative of the entire left.
I'm going. I've never seen Nine Inch Nails in concert. However, in 2 weeks, Lady Tiger Lily's coming down, and staying over here, and a friend are staying over here, and we're going to see Rammstein.
And will you be able to visit me with her?
Maybe, depends on how long she's sticking around.
Maybe it works.
Yeah, I guess if it's up to me, yes. It depends on how long she's going to be around, but I'm perfectly fine bringing her up there. And then later that same week, I'll be going up there we're actually going to be meeting in Foxborough, Mass, and seeing them again.
Very cool.
So that's cool. And some fat guy, good to see you again.
Yeah, you as well. Always
And-
love hanging out with you fellas.
And to the people in the audience that I didn't know previously, particularly Alpha, you are very cool. And so I'm glad to make your acquaintance.
Alpha gets cooler every time I see her.
And Dickie Titten. Yeah.
What does that mean?
On
the spot.
Yeah. I gotta look it up because I don't remember. It's funny though. It's an old expression though. Oh, here we go. Bear with me. Oh, it means big boobs.
Well, tittin makes sense.
And there's actually kind of an older, like a kind of it's actually a traditional German song with that name, but then Rammstein did their own version of it.
Nice.
So that explains it. There you go.
It's funny, and of course in English it sounds. I mean, you get the titten, but Dickie makes it sound like it's something.
Yeah, my first thought was, what's he talking about? Ticks and dits.
Yeah.
It's talking about me.
Alrighty, you find people to be good in the audience, be great, and I will see you next time, whenever that is.
All right, Jeff. Good night.
Definitely. Have a good weekend, everyone.
You too.
And all you peoples out there, yeah, I mean, you guys want to report back to TJ that I yelled at
It'll happen.
Stephen James and Nibaliba?
Maybe Need. They won't care about Steven.
I was just shocked. That's all. And Alpha, I'd love to have you on one night. That would be cool.
Yeah. There you go.
So that would be very cool. Good night, Redneck Atheist. Yeah, I don't know. I was just shocked. I don't run into that very often in the chats these days. That was nuts. Good night, everybody. That's what a Raven J show is like. There's a lot of shouting and swearing.
Yeah. It's good.
It was good. Even if,
Fun.
all right, everybody. Have a night.
Later.